And we are live. Okay, everybody, I'm live. Welcome in, Smash Those Hearts champions. I was looking like I needed to check to see if I was live. That's funny. I'm used to doing that without Brooke being here, so I was going to grab my phone to see if I was live or not. Right? Welcome, Penny. Welcome in. Let me know if you can hear me. Okay. Smash Those Hearts champions. Let's get some people in here. Michelle, welcome, welcome, welcome. Pedro, welcome. Share this out, guys. Let's get some more people in here and smash those hearts for me, champions, so we can get some more hearts, so we can make more people come in here and take a look at what's going on. Right? Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Right? Can you hear me? Okay, good. Thank you, Penny, for that sound check. Because Brooke was doing it, but I couldn't hear myself over there, so I didn't know if I could hear myself. So thank you for that. Right? Make sure you guys share this out. So, what are you guys up to today? What are we talking about today? Well, I got to adjust the screen just a tad, I think. My studio is off a little bit. Sorry. And sometimes with the TikTok studio, it's weird. I'm on my laptop, and when I load it, it actually loads in a weird place, and I have to center it. And just now I realized that the bottom of the screen was not accessible, so I had to move it up. So I apologize for you guys, right? So what are you guys working on today? What are you guys doing today? What do you guys want to know about? Ask me your spiritual questions. Otherwise, I'll just start rambling on like I do until you guys start asking questions, right? Maybe I should move this back a little bit. Well, you guys are kind of looking up at me when I do that, huh? This thing's not as high as I am. And I don't like sitting down low on little teeny chairs because I am not a short person. And so I like sitting up to where I feel comfortable. Most furniture is made for people that are 5'1" or 5'3". And I am 6 foot. I used to be 6'1", but I think my spinal column has compressed a little bit because when I wake up in the morning, I'm taller. Like my wife, my wife's taller than me. Brooke's taller than me. When she wakes up in the morning, she's actually really tall. And then after she comes home from work, she loses about an inch of her height, maybe two. Okay, so what are you guys up for? Yeah, right. See what Penny said down there, right? Ask your spiritual questions. Otherwise, I'll just start talking about what's going on. How about we start doing that, right? How about I start quoting from my own book? Are you guys looking around at the world and wondering what's happening here? Have you guys been paying attention to, like, say, news media, and all of a sudden you start thinking to yourself, weird, it looks like these people are lying to us, right? Let's talk Revelations. Okay, let's talk Revelations. What do you want to know about Revelations? How about we start with the word revelation doesn't mean the end of the world. The word revelation means illumination. It means knowledge. Let's start with that, right? Most of the stuff that is in Revelations are metaphors for a whole bunch of other things, and people don't understand them. So they think that it means that the world is going to be unalived and we're all going to spin off into space. That's actually not what it means at all. Most people don't know that. Being a four-time minister of four different religions, knighted by the Holy Roman Catholic Church, and a theologian, I can tell you truly that that's not what that stuff is actually talking about. It was talking about a time in the future where there was tribulation, right? Like the Kali Yuga, or the time of troubles, but it's not talking about, everyone gets this wrong. Let me show you this. Everyone says there's going to be a judgment day where God's going to call us all up, and St. Peter is going to be standing at the pearly gates, and he's going to have a big book, and he's going to be going, yes, 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 no, 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 yes, no, no, yes. Not going to happen. Let's start with that. Brush that away. That's just all made up. Okay. There's not going to be a judgment day when God is going to judge everyone, because God doesn't do that. Okay. You judge yourself. So the judgment day is a time that happens within you. So the revelation is not talking about the end of everything, because even if you look at all of the those Christian and Judeo-Christian Bibles, you will see that the God of the Hebrews was saying the new heaven and the new earth. That doesn't mean, when everyone says, well, we have to destroy the old one, that doesn't mean that everyone is going to be unalived and we're going to destroy the world and then there's going to be a new world. Okay. What that means is, and what it has always meant, is that everyone is going to stop living in service to self, living in third dimensionality, being greedy, power hungry, money grubbing, violent, doing damage to each other, and unaliving people. That at some point in everyone's life, you're going to become no longer self-serving and evil. You're going to become in service to others. And when enough people on the earth, that's the revelation, by the way, the illumination, when enough people on this earth have the revelation, the illumination, and become more in service to others, and the pendulum swings back towards the light, which is what's happening right now, by the way, then we're going to recreate the new heaven and the new earth by destroying the old one. That means, say, for instance, this system that's working right now, that 1% of the population thinks they own the other 99% of the population, and that we have this caste system, this maritime law system where we have to have money for everything because that's our slave chain, and that everything costs and that all the money goes up to them. That system is going to collapse and end. But it's not going to collapse and have a vacuum where everybody's going to be sitting around going, I don't have anything, because that would cause calamity, and that would cause everyone to start unaliving each other because of the calamity and the fear. Okay, so what's happening is the opposite of that. So it's going to be boring to some of you who can't wait for everything to spin off into space and for everyone to become unalived, because that's not what's happening. What's happening here is we are changing everything and changing the timeline by changing individuals one person at a time. And as you guys all fix yourself, every single one of you will fix people around you slightly and fix the all. And then one day there's going to be this massive Mandela effect. There's going to be this massive amount of us that remember a time when bad people had control of all corporations and all news agencies and all sporting teams and all musicians and all books and all platforms on the internet. And it's going to happen overnight, and it's just going to change. And things are going to just all of a sudden start shifting away from that. And then people are going to go like me, going to go, remember when that happened? And they're going to look at you and go, that never happened. I don't know what you're talking about. It's always been like this. That's never happened. That's one of those Mandela effects that some of you just remember reality wrong. And it sucks to be you guys, because that must be a bad thing to remember. I can't believe you guys remember that. That's what's going to happen. Okay. This is turning into a utopian society. It will be a utopian society in less than 20 years. And when that happens, some people will not remember that it was used to be bad. Okay. So you guys need to take a look at that and realize that, because this is what the bad people know. Your focus determines your reality. My focus determines my reality. Our collective consciousness, our focus in what we all believe creates the reality that we are in. They know that, so they're keeping us going, we own everything. We're in charge. We're in charge of everything. You owe us money. We own all the corporations, so you give us all money. And we're all going, okay, we'll give you money. I have to have money, and I pay it to someone else. So they make up this fake monopoly money, and then they hand it to me when I go to a job. So I take that fake monopoly money, and now I have to pay for it for my gasoline, my food, my rent, my insurance, my all this stuff, and I dole it out to a bunch of people. And they collect it, and they give some of it to their employees, and their employees do the same thing, and they give it right back to the same corporations. And all of them, then we have to pay a portion of it on tax to whatever king we live under, right? And then that goes up to them, and then all of our money goes to these corporations for all the food, because they don't want you growing your own. They don't want you getting your own milk. They don't want you doing any of that for yourself. You have to pay the power company and everybody else paying all this money out. So all of your money goes away. And at the end of the month, if you're lucky, you have a little teeny bit that you can hold on to for a minute to do a few things you like. And that keeps you on a treadmill, running, going nowhere with a piece of carrot right in front of you, and you're reaching for it. You just can't touch it. It's right there, and you're going, run. Oh, I'm going to get it. Oh, I can't get it. And they have you do that for your entire life, and guess where all that money goes that you dole out? Right uphill to the 1%, to those people who believe that, and your focus is on that. You believe that. Every time, if you're in a country that you can vote in, I love the system in over here in Australia. And I didn't know about that until I got here. And my wife told me about that. Everyone in this country is required to vote. And if they don't, they have to pay a tax for not voting. You get penalized. So some people can go, I don't care about voting. Here's $50. I don't know what the exact tax is. My wife would have to tell me. I think she said it was 50. Right? Am I right in that? If you don't vote, there's a fine. Yeah. Okay, she doesn't know the exact fine because she's actually voted. Okay, so there's a fine for not voting. I say that the American government should do the same thing because you know what would happen? The elections would be completely different. Do you understand that? Because right now, the people who do vote over in America, they call you the useless idiots. I know that because I actually talk to people who over there because I'm from there. Okay, I'm right now in New South Wales, Australia, but I was born and raised in Australia over in America. Okay, so literally over here, everybody has to vote. So nobody can complain. Well, I'm not playing. I don't vote because what they count on in the United States, less than 200 million people out of the 380 million, so almost half of the country doesn't vote. And you know what, America? Hey, listen, Don, if you're listening, Don Jr., Don Sr., if you guys are listening, if you find people in America for not voting, even if it's $1, there's 150 to 200 million Americans that don't vote. You could make $200 million every voting cycle by putting a tax on people and telling everyone that they have to vote. Oh, and you also have to show ID, right? You can't just show up and go, "Hello, I am not from here." ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó? You know, you can't just show up and go, "No habla, no entiendo." You can't do that, right? Over here, you have to actually, be a citizen. So my point is, if everybody has to vote, it changes the idea because now nobody can say, "Well, I didn't vote. I don't play that game," because what they count on in America is that you go, "You know what, man? It doesn't matter who I vote for, dude, because they're just gonna put in who they want anyway." They love you. They love you because your focus determines all of our reality. And if everybody in the world says we can't do anything to change the world, man, they just own everything, man. We can't do anything about it. If everyone sits down and thinks that, do you know what? They just say, "You're absolutely right. We do own everything." Because that's what they're trying to tell us, anyways. Okay. So if you guys are out there in the world and you're one of those people that says, "I'm not voting because," insert your negativeness here that's putting them in power, you can play that game and say, "I'm not voting," right? But don't put it in there. Don't reinstall your thought process that they're in charge and it doesn't matter, because that's what's keeping them in charge, is because everybody's going, "Nothing's going to ever change, man. Nothing's going to ever change. It's the man, and they just control us all." You say that, you think that, you believe that, you make that happen. You're unaware of that, but it's true. That is the first step in avoiding a trap. So you have to know that it exists, okay? So you really have to do that. You have to think that. I used to do the same thing. I'm not telling you that I'm perfect. Do you know that I only voted like 3 times in my entire life? I'm 58. First time I was able to vote when I was 18 years of age, I voted for Ronald Reagan. I never voted again, okay, until the 2016 election, because I was the same way. Even as awake as I was like, "Yeah, okay, whatever. I'm not going to play the game." But I didn't say, "There's nothing you can do." And I didn't think that. I was like, "I'm just going to abstain from that. I'm not going to do that." But then I realized that that was the same form of what I was doing, because if I were going to be positive and then saying, "Well, I'm not going to play that game, I'm going to abstain," then that means that the people who they can convince are the ones that are going to keep them in power. So I was, in a way, opting out of that game and allowing the people that they do control to decide who was going to be the president. And I thought, wow, okay, you know what? That's just as bad as me sitting down saying, "It doesn't matter, man, because they're in charge, man, and we can't do anything, man." Because that's you telling yourself and whoever you said that out loud to that they are in charge. We can do nothing about it, and they own us. Hey, man, they love you. Because if they can get everybody on this whole world thinking that, which is what they're doing now, they're keeping your focus on their structure. They're keeping your focus on, you need to pay for things, you need to go to the store, you need to have this product, we'll tell you when to buy it and what to buy, and oh, by the way, we're in charge, and all the money comes up to us, and you're just going to keep paying us that monopoly money and go to work, be quiet and go to work and come home and start over. Okay? See, there, that problem right there in your capital letters, user 606 is the problem. Okay. You're right there. You're saying the presidents are selected, not elected here. Okay. And because of that, you're making that so. So because you believe that, you say that, and you tell people that, you're making that happen. If everybody believes you, that's exactly what's going to happen. So you're actually part of the problem with that thought process. You are the problem with that thought process. We all have to realize that. That is a programming that they put into us, just like the word understand. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Do you submit to my will and stand under my authority? That's what that word means. It's a programming from childhood that they put into us. If you're in the United States, brother, I don't know if you're a man or a woman. I'm just assuming because of the way you're talking that you're a man, not a woman. I could be wrong, right? That's my thing. But and you're also talking like you're an American. I grew up there. I'll bet you if I started the Pledge of Allegiance, you would have that thing memorized and still remember it, right? Because you were being indoctrinated just like I was every single day. I'm not saying that I don't like America. What I'm saying is that's a military country that's indoctrinating their people, and that's why you stand up and go, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, right? So, and to the republic, which they keep trying to tell you, the progressives keep trying to tell you is not a republic, that it's a democracy. Not a democracy. It's not a democratic country. It's a republic. Just like the state of California, and they'll try to tell you that too. You guys should learn that stuff, right? I just went, my camera went black. What's going on? I don't know if you guys can see me. Camera went black. What's going on? I don't know if you guys can see me. What happened there, but it freaked out for a second. I think my Wi-Fi went down and came back up. I'm not sure what happened there. So you guys could hear me. I could see that. You guys could hear me, but for some reason it just went off and then came back on. I think the Wi-Fi tripped for a second because the camera was going off and on, and then it came back on. All right, so right, so I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not sure where you're from, user, but it sounds like you're in America, right? And then Gail said, "Hi from UK." Hello, I'm over in New South Wales, Australia. I know my accent doesn't fit to being Australian because I wasn't born here, right? So, but my point is, right, user, I'm not yelling. So my point is, I'm just wanting you to understand. I used to think the same way, bro. When my hair was long down to the middle of my back, right? And I was walking around with braids and I had 3 earrings instead of 2, and they were hanging dangly earrings, and I was like, yeah, it's the man. That was most of my life. I'm not gonna play their game, dude. I was thinking the same way, and I was the problem. I was the problem because I was propagating their system and what they wanted, because they're controlling our minds all over the world and focusing us on what they want us to manufacture for them. We are manifesting this place. And every time you go, can't do anything about it, you're manifesting whatever it is that comes out of your mouth next. Okay. So if you believe that, they're selected, they are selected because they're all related. I'm not saying, okay, they are all related. I tell people all the time, and I told people on my last live to go and take a look at things, right? Because there's that little girl that found out that all the presidents were related to each other in America, and she wasn't any kind of deep state. And we know that all the monarchs, all the kings, queens, and princes and princesses in Europe are all cousins because they've been interbreeding forever, right? So all the presidents are all cousins. All the monarchs over in Europe are cousins. Are they related? They are. That's half the world. So people looked at that back in 2017, and they made a documentary called Above Majestic. And during that time period, they were like, we found out that like everybody's related. So there's some truth to what you're saying. They do select who is going to be going in power, but they need the majority of us to agree to that power and to put that person in place. Okay. So what do? They get your focus in some way with their propaganda in some way to get you to vote for who they want you to vote for. The truth is, like when Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were going up against each other in 2016, they're cousins. Okay. You can look that up. Hillary's last name, her maiden name is Rodham. Hillary Rodham Clinton. The Rodhams are cousins to the Trumps. So in truth, whoever we picked in that election, you're absolutely right, was going to be in charge. But the first step of avoiding a trap is knowing of its existence. Okay? So they've been doing this for thousands of years. No one's known about it. So people have always thought they were voting for someone else or electing someone else into your governments wherever you are, unless you have a dictator. Even the places where you have a king, you guys have a parliament and a prime minister, and Those people are all related too, whether you know it or not. Okay, you should look into it. So they've been aware of it the entire time. It's like Game of Thrones, which I started watching. By the way, I've never seen that before, and Brooke said you need to start watching this. So we're on like season one. And I was like, why did I not watch this ever before? I didn't want to pay for the channel that it was on. That's why I never watched it before. So I'm watching that, but it's like Game of Thrones. They're all just related, playing with each other for vying for power and control. I've been saying that for decades. Okay, so we know all of that. We know they're going to do what you're saying. I don't even know if he's gone. He might have got mad and left, right? but truly, how can we stop that? People ask me that all the time. Well, what can we do about it then? Right? If I'm trying not to manifest that, but it's true they're doing it, well, then you have to manifest something different. They are not going to be able to do that. You have to manifest that. If we can get a bunch of people with our minds, all of us around the world, awake enough to say no, then it doesn't happen. We don't need the system that we have now. We don't need to have to pay for everything. There's no reason for us to have to pay for it except for class. Okay, the rich people want to have money over everyone else, and that gives them power over everyone else. So they give us a class system, a caste system, okay, where they rule, and then we are beneath them. They've been doing that since the dawn of time in this country, in this world, not just this country, this world. Okay, they've been doing it everywhere. They tell you they're in charge, and if you say no, you're not, they send people to you. They either unalive you, or they beat you, or they take you and put you in prison to keep you quiet. Okay, well, that time's over. They can't just readily do that anymore. Okay, and even if they do, there's so many of us talking to each other around the world, they can't actually get a hold of everybody anymore. There's too many people. Eddie, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for that. Right, thank you for that. And you guys smash those hearts. Let's get some hearts in here. Right, hold on. I'm going to take a drink of my coffee. Coffee, TikTok, coffee. The other day, I picked up my water bottle, which is right over here. I'll show it to you, put part of it on camera. Let me see how far I can go without TikTok having a wing-ding. Water bottle, and I have a Voost in there. It's a vitamin water, like Gatorade over in America. I picked it up and took a drink of it, and it's that glowing, like highlight color yellow, like Gatorade is, right? And I took a drink of it, and I got a warning, and I got diminished on how many people I could have in my audience. And there was a sign on my when you came in that said I was drinking alcohol, and it was not. I quit drinking alcohol. In fact, I don't know what the date is, but on the 2nd of March will be my 4-year anniversary of no alcohol. Okay, so I don't drink alcohol. Okay. Eddie just says, I just finished my coffee. Right? I'm on cup 2. I'm on cup 2. I can't say cup, that's a glass. I'm on a glass 2, right? Okay. So the reality about reality, right, from my book, the reality about reality is they are doing these things. Okay. But we need to become aware of that. The first step of avoiding a trap is knowing of its existence. We can become aware of it. We have to change our thinking. They program us to think a certain way. That's why the things that are on television that you watch on TV are called programs. Okay. They're programming you with those things that you watch. So you have to realize that you're being programmed everywhere. They're watching us, they're paying attention to us, and they're programming our minds. When you're on like TikTok or any of these other platforms and you're scrolling, whichever way you swipe, on whatever that you're on, most of it's swipe up these days. Everything you hit like on, you're going to get more of that content. Everything you make a comment on, you're going to get more of that more of that content. Longer you stay and watch a video, you're going to get more of that content. Those things all add up for you. Okay, so they're focusing your reality. It's like a drug. What they're doing is they're rewarding you by giving you what it is you're looking for, more of that, so you'll stay on their platform longer. So then they make money off of you because you're a product. Everything that you're looking at is keyed towards advertising. Everything that you do on every platform is taken by those platforms and sold to people to sell stuff to you. So you're a product that they're selling the knowledge about you and what you like and what you do and what you comment on. And they sell that to other corporations who then target you for products that they're going to sell. Okay. You can look this up. I'm not making anything up here. This is not a conspiracy theory in any way. It's actual fact. If you look at even on this platform and you read, the terms of their agreement, not just terms of service, but all of that. If you actually take the time to read that, which no one does, they just go, yep. You have no idea that you're giving them that information, that that they're literally like, we can take access to all of these things about you. You have to know that they're getting access to all of your device, everything in it, all of your people that are in it, your friends, all of that stuff, unless you opt out of those things. Now, different platforms reach in deeper or less depending on the platform. So not all of them are blanketed with all the same information. Okay. Not all of them are taking everything from you. Most of them are. Okay. So you need to look into that, because what they're doing is they're honing your attention. They're keeping your attention on their platform, which keeps making them more money. And then they sell you as a product, which makes them more money. Okay. Then other people use the insight into your thinking and what you look at and what you do, and they send you products so that you're buying all of their products. So you're programming yourself without knowing you're programming yourself. That's the beauty of it. Okay. So you guys have to become aware of that so that you can actually wake up to that. So you have to pull all that stuff out of your body and put all the new things into your body. Okay. You have to realize these things. You have to know that the first step of avoiding a trap is knowing of its existence. So you have to realize this is the things that they're doing. Are they, not electing but choosing monarchs to be in charge? Yes, they are. Okay, and they're giving you what you think is a choice, and you're unaware of that. So how can you fight against that? You can fight against that by changing things. You don't have to. You don't have to. People get annoyed and they say, "Oh, we need to have a revolution." No, you don't. No, you don't. They want you to do that because they need all of you who think like that to stand up and point out who you are and wave your hand so they can unalive you in some way, or take you off the platforms or put you in prison so that they can quiet you. Okay, so they can shut you up. So that's not what you do. That's not how you win. That's their wheelhouse. You have to realize that. Their wheelhouse is physicality. So the only way that you can defeat evil is not by physicality. You guys should read The Art of War. If you want to defeat evil, here's a little tidbit, right? Fight them when they're not. Okay. So where are they not? Well, they're not inside your head unless you let them in there. So you can fight them with an idea by changing the ideas. But you can fight them with a thought by changing your thoughts. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? Do you comprehend that? So if you want to stop all evil from controlling the world, you guys all have to do is all at once say, you do not control the world, because we are the world. Because the people who are controlling the world are 1% of the population, and they need everyone else to keep that control. Think about this now. Okay. The people who are thinking that they own the world are not going to come to your house themselves and try to unalive you. They're going to send zealots that they've trained, who are loyal to them, who are brainwashed, to come get you. They're not going to do it. So if you, me, and everyone else wake up, and we wake up the majority of the lions here, who can wake up the majority of the people, which is what's happening, just so you know. And as the people's vibration gets higher and higher, more and more and more people are starting to all of a sudden see through these cracks. These cracks get bigger and bigger, and they start looking around and they start saying, wait a minute, I can see things. And as this third eye starts to wake up, they start going, hold on a second. And then they start realizing what you know and what I know and what other people know. To what extent will be determined by how far they can go with opening that third eye. So the more that we can process that information to people, the more that people are going to be able to see the tools that are right in front of them. So that's what we do. Okay. Very challenging trying to wake up your loved ones and and people that are close to you. They have to wake up in their time. That's the problem. The problem is you might be married to somebody. You might be your children, your parents, your brothers, your sisters, everybody around you. You might be the only person who starts waking up. And that becomes difficult. It's hard for you because you're trying to talk to them and you're like, listen, you need to know that this is happening. And they're like, dude, you're just tripping. Don't care, don't want to hear about it. Okay. That's your thing, not my thing. I don't want to know about that stuff. I don't really care about that stuff. Okay. You have to allow them to be there. Someday they're not going to be. My entire family and I have a lot of people in my family. I talked about this yesterday. Okay. I have 4 older sisters and 1 younger brother, and every single one of my siblings has a minimum of 2 children. Okay. And all of those children have like 2 or more children themselves. Okay. So as an uncle, I'm an uncle to like 32, an uncle or granduncle to like 32 or 33 humans. Out of all of them, I think I have 2 of my nieces and nephews who don't think I'm crazy. And out of all 4 sisters and 1 brother, I have 1 sister that I can confirm, 1 sister that I suspect thinks I'm not crazy. Okay? That's the truth of that. So my entire family do not believe that know what I'm talking about. They think that I've lost my mind. Not all of them, though. I have a cousin who started hearing me, Lina. I'm going to say her name because if she's listening to this, she'll be like, woohoo! She's very awake, and she started hearing me and was like, huh. So then she went to my sister Deborah, who's the one who doesn't think I'm cuckoo and said, is your brother cuckoo? Is he a wackadoo? And she said, I thought the same thing about 6 years ago, but now I don't, and you should listen to him. So then we had a conversation, and she said, yeah, wow, I was thinking all that, but didn't know about it. So there's a couple of people in your life that are awake enough to know what you're talking about, but you can't yell at the ones that aren't. You have to allow things to be the way they are.
The soul contract, to go back to them, the hardest thing for me was to realize that they've got their contract and this is their life to live in hands. We cannot control their contract. We can only help guide them, but they've already made a decision. Like, it was hard for me.
I don't know if you guys can hear that. I hope you guys can hear that.
Like, it was hard for me to let go and realize, hang on a second, they're going to go through that trauma because they signed up for it.
Okay. So she's saying, I don't know if you guys could hear Brooke in the background. I should have had her just come right over and yell it at you. But she's like, I don't want to be on camera. Yeah. She's out there. So she's talking about the soul contracts, getting back to Eddie, like we were talking about your families and them not knowing about it. At some point, you have to wake up and realize they have a contract. They're here doing their life, and they're only going to wake up when they're supposed to. So it's hard. And she said that it was hard for me to realize that you have to allow them to be where they are because they're going to wake up when they're supposed to wake up, and you can't change that. Traumas happen for a reason. So if they're in the life that they're in and they're only on life 3 or 4 and they happen to be in your life, their chances are they're not going to wake up. Well, you're not going to get to see them do that, and that's okay. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's where they are, because sometimes people do things in the reverse, and they could have been in your life before and been the wisest person that you had in your life, and now they're veiled completely and they're just living life, and they don't know that they're in the matrix because they don't want to in this lifetime, because they just want to experience things. You have to be awake enough to realize that these things are happening and that they're doing this because it's happening. Yeah, it's not happening to them. It's happening for them, because none of this is happening to you. All of this is happening for you. That's one of the problems that people have. They think that God's being mean or something to them, and they don't, and they're like, why would God do this? They get angry. Why would God take my child? Why would God take my father? I hate God for that. That's not what's happened. Those people signed a contract and left when they were supposed to leave. Okay. And the child left because it was supposed to leave. Okay. You need to realize that. And so that's where you would hear them say, well, the Lord works in mysterious ways. And people are like, that's not acceptable. But it's true. Okay. That person signed on to say, be your child that was with you for a year and then leave. And that's why you always hear people say that, they died, they're unalive, sorry, TikTok, far too young. But when they were here, they were just loving life and they were just all this. The reason that they were so charismatic when they were here is that they knew they were only going to be here for a short period of time. And they were making a very big difference in the people's lives that were here, right? Only the good, unalive, young, right? So literally, yeah, I know that, right? But seriously, so you guys have to realize it's hard. It doesn't feel good when you lose people around you, but you have to realize that they're not gone. Okay, that's the biggest problem that we all have, is we're living in 3D and they've told us that this is it. That's it. I'm in here in this gray matter that's inside my brain, this sponge, because it's like a sponge. I'm in this gray matter that I can grab a hold of with my hands and actually yank most of it out if I got my skull open. You could just grab it and pull it out and throw it like goo. Okay. And that's what you think you are because you're seeing things through these eyes and you think you're hearing things through these ears. So therefore, I must be right there in the middle. That's where I am. So that's why you think that this is you. It solidifies you, right? I've told people that if they don't take care of their health, or their health, they will. I don't know the rest of that because it just says dot dot dot, and I can't open the window.
Because I've told people that if they don't take care of their health, they will pass, and then they do.
Well, and see, yeah, and you can't force any. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So if you look at people and you see them going down that road and they're doing bad things to themselves, drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, all of that, too much sugar, all of those things, eating bad, maybe eating only meat and not eating any vegetables. I knew a guy who did that, and he was like, "I'm a meat and potatoes guy, and I never eat them vegetables. Don't need it." And he became unalive to colon cancer by the time he was 40. Okay. So, right. And another guy, he was a chain smoker and he would literally light a cigarette off of a cigarette off a cigarette. And I knew him in my 20s and I said, bro, you need to slow down on that because that's going to get you one day. And he said, not going to happen. Okay. He died at 55 as with lung cancer. Okay. So, right. So you just have to realize I didn't know that when this world was run by evil ones, so I made 7 offspring, and now I know I shouldn't have. No, that's not true. This place is being run by them, but they don't own it. It's only being run by them because everybody agrees to allow them to do it. This place is only evil if you see it as evil. The heaven and hell is in the same place. You need to realize that. Okay, so your focus determines your reality. So if you think this place is evil, it's evil because that's all you're going to see. If you think this place is good, it's going to be good. If you think it's hell, you're in hell. If you think it's heaven, you're in heaven. Okay, so that's what people say that, and they're like, I should have never brought anybody into this crap world. Well, it's because that's all you see is the crap world. You don't see how beautiful it is, but you're also missing. I need my wife to come and sit next to me.
They chose to be
Okay.
here. You didn't bring them here. They chose you, not the other way around. They're here.
Okay. Do you hear that?
For their journey, not for yours.
Do you hear her? So you have to realize that you didn't choose them. They chose you. You didn't make them. They chose to come in here because they are individual souls and they determine their life. They sit down and write who's going to be their parents. They chose you and their mother to be their parents to come into. Okay. You guys chose at some point, well, I'm going to have a bunch of children. So you said that. So then this place gives you that option. Okay, I want 10 kids. You may not get all 10 of them in your life, but you'll say, I want a lot of kids. When you come in here, you're going to have that possibility. It's going to be put in front of you. So you're going to have women that are going to be trying to have your children. So if you get with one and she really enjoys it, then you guys are going to end up with about 7 kids. But that's not you saying, well, man, I should have known. You knew when you were up there what you were doing when you were designing it. But then down here, you're veiled. So you don't realize how hard that it's going to be because down here you think it's really hard because you don't have any memory. When you wake up and know what's happening here, it is not as hard as you think. Okay? Because it is determined by your focus. So once you realize those kids volunteered to be here, had nothing to do with you, because if you would have said, I don't want any kids, you wouldn't have any, but those kids would still be here. They'd be someone else's kids because they wanted to be here. Okay. Nobody's here on accident. Nobody's here because they didn't have choice. That's what people don't realize. They're like, I didn't ask to be born. Actually, you did. You just don't know it. You just don't remember it. You did because you're the creator. So you were, the creator didn't create you and give you no choice. You're going to go down there and you're going to have all these things happen to you. And I'm going to watch you because I'm a kid with an ant farm. That's not it at all. It's not how it works. Okay. It's not how it works. So it sucks when we're down here and we're veiled when we see, oh man, there's some stuff that's pretty bad, right? No, I shouldn't have done this. If you wait, I bet you know this too, okay? Because at some point you had this conversation and thought it. When people say to you, like now you have 7 kids, I'll bet you somebody's had a conversation with you saying, if you could go back in time and realize how hard it was going to be to have that big of a family, would you have changed it? If you're kind of asleep and you're not the richest man in the world, you're going to go, yeah, I probably wouldn't have had this many kids because I would have made sure that I could afford it first. Ask anybody who waited around until they could afford having their children, because there are people out there who never end up having kids because they're like, you know what, maybe we should wait until we have enough money for the kids, so let's get some stuff done and we'll make sure we have that house. And they don't realize that the rat race of this place is going to keep you just in a place where you can't actually have a bunch of stuff. Well, if we focus on our lives and we do all these things, then what happens is you become more self-serving because you focus on your own lives and you start making a lot of money. And then at some point you go, I don't know if we should be having kids because we'll have to lose our lifestyle. So the same thing happens. That's that Monday morning quarterback syndrome that we all have. You look back and the grass is greener on the other side. I don't know if I would have wanted to have 7 kids, because 7 kids is a lot and it's crazy. I don't know how old they all are, but 7 kids are crazy. We have 4 and that's insane. So you have 3 more than us. So hopefully you staggered them a long ways so that you were only kind of crazy, bro, because otherwise I know what it's like to be in a house with a whole bunch of people running around trying to unalive each other and throwing things at each other and just chaos. Okay, and I've done that my entire life, right? I've always been like that everywhere in every place because of how many brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews that I have. So I'm used to it. So that whirlwind you get used to, I'm sure you did. That whirlwind that you have, right? Is you're used to it, so it's not as bad. You just have to realize they signed the contract, they wanted to be here, and they chose you to be their father. Think about that. You should see the light in that, right? Brooke O'Neill, what is gang stalking?
Yeah, he wants me to answer a question. You still didn't answer my question. I'm not answering questions today, dude. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
what's going on.
Why did right? Why did we get to gang stalking as a question, right?
I have no idea.
Did you bring up the word, or did that person just ask?
Gang stalking in my life.
Yeah, okay. I think maybe you were thinking that maybe you thought I was Brooke O'Neill. That's my wife. My name's Leonard O'Neill, right? So gang stalking, if you don't know what that is, you should look it up. I mean, obviously you're not in America if you don't know what gang stalking is, or Mexico, or Central America, but we're not here to talk about that. Okay. So spiritual questions. Do you see this thing up here? Spiritual questions, my friend. Okay.
And the truth.
So yeah, and the real truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help me, right? So help me us, right? So right. So right. Yeah. No, that was from directly from. Hold on a second. I'm gonna take a drink of my coffee. TikTok coffee. No alcohol. I don't drink alcohol. I quit drinking alcohol. It'll be 4 years ago in March, on March 2nd. Okay. So those are some of the things that we don't know, bro, right? Getting back to talking about the 7 kids, dude. Those are some of the things we don't know when we're still veiled, is that we don't realize that they signed a contract as well, right? So yeah, what is really happening on this planet? I can't read the rest of it. Oh, okay. So maybe they thought it was I don't know. Okay, let's move on from that stuff, because we're still hanging out there and saying that word over and over, and it might be a word that is not supposed to be talked about on a communist platform. All right, so we have to realize where people are and allow them to be there. We can't change anybody. We can only change ourselves. That's the truth of it. We spend so much time thinking that we need to change people, right? You go to everybody that you know and you're like, you need to wake up, and you're throwing things at them, and we deal those cards to people and they're just like, okay, right, whatever. Yeah, this one, and they look at each other. You can't. All you can do is answer questions. That's why I do that. I'm not here telling everybody you need to wake up and you need to wake up. I will say to somebody, if they're trolling me, I'll go, dude, come on, act like an adult, sit down and listen. You might learn something, or just swipe up, bro. I don't have time for you. You know what I mean? So you have to kind of do that with your kids too. You have to look at them and just love them. And then if they ask questions, you tell them. And if not, you make little things, right? If the Titanic or anything big, a big giant ship is sitting in port, they can take a tugboat and they can push that ship and they can move it, right? But they can't take that tugboat and pull that ship with one tugboat. So if a big ship is on a course and it's going across the ocean, and all you can do is nudge that thing a little bit, and over a long period of time, thank you for that, whoever did that. Thank you for that, Brave Eagle. Thank you. The only thing that you can do is over time that course, that adjustment that you made, that slight becomes really big over time. Okay, so the same thing with your kids. The only thing you can do is make the references and talk to them and say things and get it into their head through osmosis, right? That's the only thing that you can do. Here's things that we do, right? What we do is we hang things around the house that are spiritual, right? So the kids see that. Like we have chakras hanging from the front window. We have sayings from the Dalai Lama all over our house. Okay. People walk by those and they don't notice them. Crucifixes above all the doors, above the beds. Okay. We have these things that we put around for the kids, they see them. They may not ask questions or they might, and they do. What's this about? What does that mean? Why do you have this here? Old people have things like this, but we don't. So Brooke and I are not, we don't act like we're in our 80s. Some people in their 20s act like they're in their 80s. We never have. It's not our style. So we have things around. We do things like burning incense. Why are you doing that? Oh, what's that smell? Why are you doing that? Glad you asked, right? Brooke said, speaking of which, because we didn't light any incense yet, so so there's gonna be some incense. So if I all of a sudden get real like peaceful and real like Zen, it's because, or if I start going, oh, one day I didn't know that she had a big incense thing behind me, and I was like, whoo, I don't know, man. That smoke's just a lot today. And all of a sudden, Brooke comes in behind me and goes, sorry, and takes it out of the room. I started laughing. I was like, oh, I didn't realize that Brooke did that. It was in the yeah, but I like that. Oh, we haven't smelled that one yet. This one that we got from Dave, huh? Does it? All right, that's a good one. So maybe there's some THC in that. We got this big stick. Oh, it does smell good. We got this big stick from, and it does almost smell like THC. We got a big stick from a buddy of ours. We were at the fair over here at the markets, and we got it was sage and some other stuff that he had mixed with it. I don't remember what he said it was now. No, it's got something else. Bring it over here so we can show it to the people. And we hadn't lit it yet, so Brooke just brought it over and she just lit this, and it's got.
I think it's mugwort.
I think he said mugwort, something like that.
Yeah. But careful, it's loose, so it's gonna. Don't burn a hole in your shirt.
I'm not trying to burn a hole in my shirt. I'm just trying to blow on it to stoke the spark, and I didn't realize. She said, "You heard her. Careful, it's loose." I started blowing on it, and it just started going all over me. She had to put me out. Okay, so smells good though, right? But it does almost smell of because it has white sage, right? And yeah, any white sage smells similar to THC, right? It smells like peyote and it smells like marijuana. Some people don't like the smell of it. I like the smell of it, right? I like the smell of 420, right? Got to have a meeting. It's got to be a safety meeting. Okay, so literally you have to realize you can do these things around your house, right? I mean, you can't like walk around and you probably could if your kids are used to it, but you can put things around the house that make them think, put words up that they see different things. They'll go, "You're weird, Dad. Why do you do that? Why do I do what?" Well, the chakras. Do you know what those are? You don't even know what those are. Maybe I should explain them to you. You know what I mean? Use things as a tool. If you do that when they're little in their whole lives, then they realize that, and if they start discovering things like Buddhism and Hinduism and other alternative things, and then they realize that's a quote from the Dalai Lama. Who's the Dalai Lama and where is he at? And then they go, wow, okay, Tibet and the Dali and the weird. And then they same thing with chakras, and then eventually they find what the chakras are. All of that stuff's going to expand their consciousness. You may not be able to have questions and say, this is what's going on in the world, right away. But if at some point you're going to have that conversation anyways, because you should be with your children at some point saying, listen, you need to be prepared. So if you start doing that when they're little and say, listen, the world isn't, because you tell people don't talk to strangers. Well, why, Dad? Because some people are not nice. Some people are mean. Some people are bad. At some point you have to tell them some people are evil, son, daughter. Okay. At some point you have to do that. So you should already be doing that. At the same time, you can let them see you being spiritual. And if they choose to go, you're weird, man, you go, okay. Because at some point, they're going to change. You'll see this happen and you live long enough, my friend, you'll see them change. As soon as they have kids, they're going to understand you a lot better. Their life's going to change. And they're going to go, oh my God, I sound like my dad. Oh my God, I sound like my mom. Because that's what happens to everybody. So right now, you might think that was a bad idea, or some of you out there, why would I bring children into this world? Because they want to be here too. And if you don't bring them in, someone else will. So I always tell people you can choose not to if you like, but you chose to for a reason. And then you went, man, this place is a mess. So why did I do that? It's okay. They chose to be here, and they chose you as their father, and they chose their mother to be their mother. For whatever reason that you guys have, you're going to teach them something, and that's what they wanted. So you have to realize that, right? Palo Santo is my favorite. We have some of that laying around too. I love that stuff. So does Brooke. We go through it so fast, we have to burn other things. Because every time we have Palo Santo, we end up burning that more. I love the smell of that, right? Fan club, if you want to hear more, please, right? Yeah, heart.
I can't pin it, so I have to come up with a unique without using sort of.
Yeah, right. Because there's certain things that my wife can't type and then pin for you guys to realize what she's saying. Because this communist platform has certain groupings of words that you can't say and pin on a live, so she has to say different things, right? So fan club, if you want to, want to hear more, please heart us and send us some information, right? You can always ask questions here, merlinandmaeve@gmail.com. Make sure if you do email us, you tell us your handle on TikTok so we know who we're talking to, especially if we had a conversation in here. Okay, so you have to realize how this place works. Let's move that right now. There's where you can see where she tried to type in share out, follow us, spread the truth, and wake up time. She had to put that in code because TikTok will not allow her to do that and pin it. She can't. Some things she can't even put that in and then make it be seeable by you. I was doing that the other day and I tried to put in a link to a Facebook page and they don't let that go in the live. So I had to tell people where to find Matthew LaCroix and I could type his name in and then say, go look for him. Okay. And that's the only way that I could get people to figure out who that man was, right? That's why I have this here for you to see my book that I wrote, The Reality About Reality, right? Returning to the Old Ways by me, Leonard O'Neill. And there's a link in the bio for it because if we try to put that link in the chat for you to find that online, TikTok will not allow us to do that. Okay. So yeah, I started asking about that yesterday. So that's a good question. Here's a segue. Okay, Brooke wants to know, right? My Maeve to my Merlin, my wife Satori, wants to know if anybody and Penny, feel free because we talked about it, so you could hop in too. Anybody feel or notice anything from the timeline shift that happened a week ago? Because today's Saturday over here in Australia. Okay, so it must have been Saturday because on Sunday was when her and I started realizing that the music seemed different, but we just thought it was just the channel that we were on. Then the day after that, or the day after, so it was either Monday or Tuesday. Penny, who was in the audience, said, "Yeah, look at her. Oh my God, yes, 100%." She was like, "Leo, did you notice that the music is just whacked?" Well, she was also on Spotify, so we both all got to thinking maybe it's just Spotify, so maybe they upgraded something and it's just Spotify. But I decided maybe we should go and take a look at other platforms and hear the same music, and we did that. Okay, we went to other platforms, so it wasn't just Spotify upgrading. Every platform we went to, we realized that music had changed. So there was a timeline shift that happened between Saturday and Sunday in Australia time last week. And one of the things that we noticed is that music is not the same now the way it was before. There's subtle differences in the music, right? My son told me that he chose me before he was in my tummy. Wow. He was only 3.5 years old when he told you that. Yeah. Hopefully he's still awake. A lot of times that happens and they're little and they tell you something and then they end up getting pulled into the matrix and they get veiled. I have a niece, my sister, one of my sister's kids. When I was taking care of her children and my sister was not there that day. Unfortunately, I wish she had been, but she was actually doing rehab and stuff, I think at that point, or she was off running around doing something crazy. So I was taking care of the kids and she was like 2 years old, one of the nieces. And I said, oh, it's time for you to go to bed. And I was sitting with a buddy of mine. He and I were sitting there talking. She didn't want to go to bed because, she was going to miss out on what the adults were saying. And I said, no, it's time for you to go to bed. Her brother went to bed, but she said, I don't want to go to bed. And I said, I'm sorry, it's time. You have to do that. And she said, why? And I said, because I'm the adult and children It's time for children to go to sleep. She looked at me at 2 years old and she said, I remember a time when I was the adult and you were the child. So I looked at my buddy, he looked at me, and we both looked at her, and I went, really? When was that? Right? I wanted to see what she was going to say, right? Really? When was that? And she said, you remember, silly, you were there. And I said, oh, was I? And I just kept letting her talk and asking her questions. That little girl at 2 years old described something to me that she could never have known. She described to me what I saw on a reel to reel Super 8 video that was filmed by my uncle that my father showed me when I was 17 years of age. And at this point, I was 21 years of age. She never saw that. I never told anyone my father saw that. My sister never saw that reel to reel tape. That reel to reel tape was gone by this time. And there's no way that little 2-year-old could have saw that. She looked at me and she said, you remember the day I brought you home from the hospital? I was carrying you in my arms and my brother was filming. Never does he turn that camera around so that you know who's behind the camera filming. Never. Okay. My father told me who was behind the camera filming. And I said, really? Where was that? And she said, silly, you were there. You remember, I got out of the car. I had a cigarette in my mouth. I hadn't lit it yet. And when I was carrying you, and I was so proud of you because it was the day you came home from the hospital, and your mom was up on the balcony waving at us because she had just went up to unlock the door. Told me the entire scene and what it looked like at 2 years old. She doesn't remember it today and says that I'm crazy. She never said that. He is now in the matrix with the diagnosis of ASD. There, you know what? They did that to all of us too. We all had ADHD and ADD, and then we were all on the spectrum, and now everybody's right. They're trying to get us on medication so that we solidify our third eye and close it, and our pineal gland and our optic thalamus, so that we're completely in the veil, veiled and in the thing. All the people with autism, all the people with ADHD, all the people with this, they named everything, so they go, hey, we have to have you take this. Yeah. This will fix you. And then they do that with everybody, right? Yeah, good. He will not faux meds. What are you trying to say with that? He won't take them? He will not do meds. Hopefully make sure that he doesn't. Good. Okay. Because they're saying that about everybody because they want everybody to be on medication. They're trying to do everything. Same thing with the inoculations. Okay. My brother, my younger brother, one of his kids, they hit him with some inoculations back of, I think he's 25 now. And then he had seizures and he ended up on the spectrum. So my brother was part of a class action lawsuit at the time. So I'm not saying, misinformation or wild conspiracy theories. He was part of a class action lawsuit against these corporations that were having children inoculated, and there was something in that. I don't know exactly all the details, so I'm not going to speculate on that so that TikTok and all the other commies around the world don't have a wingding. But something happened, and that caused him to have problems. Okay, so my brother won that case along with a bunch of other people and has free medical for his son for life. And his son is now pretty much functional, but he became autistic. Okay, so at the time, the statistic was prior to all of those things that they were giving the kids, prior to that, it was 1 kid in 8 million in America that was autistic. By the time of that class action lawsuit, it went to 1 in 8, not million. Went from 1 in 8 million to 1 in 8. Okay. So how long after we become unalived are people reincarnated? Normally, that's a really good question. Normally, on a regular planet, it takes you about 100 years before you come back. So that there's nobody around you that you know, and everybody that's around you is close to being unalived as well, because you guys still come back in as a family unit. Okay. So normally, on a planet that would be not stuck like this one, if you become unalived and then you go through the process and come back, it would be about 100 years down here. And most everybody that you knew would already be gone, and they would also be recycling, because you would end up coming back, meeting your spouse and your grandma, grandpa, mom, dad. You guys would all end up in the same family unit again in some way, or extended family unit, because people come through with 7 to 10 people that they keep around them all the time. Right. So normally it would be 100 years. Today, people come back in months, couple months. 9 months, because it takes that long to get into a child. So they would be back within a year. A lot of people are doing that now. just because you're stuck. And when you're stuck, you can recycle faster. We're also closer to the end of things right now. We're about 20 years away from the utopian society at the very maximum that they're going to slow it down. It'll be by 2050 at the very maximum. So a lot of people are trying to get back into a body as fast as possible because they want to be here for the change. That was a great question.
Why did it change to a shorter time?
That's why it changed to a shorter time, because it's condensed now. We're so close to changing this world to 4D that most souls, even if there's their first time and they say they're able to graduate, they go, wait, what? So instead of like graduating normally and going to a different place, they could come back in here and then shift with the entire population all at once.
And the longer,
and so that's why they're doing that.
Process. Like
in the longer that you've been here, yeah, for the longer you've been here.
We've been through this times. Can we hurry up already? We wrote down in our timeline that we came back within maybe 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, or less these days.
Less.
Yeah, right. I mean, we're right. So I don't know if you guys could hear that. So because of, when you've done this a lot, if you've been here a lot, especially if you're somebody who came here to help, okay? If you came here, that's what I was talking about. If you came here to help, that means that this is what you kind of do for a living. So when you get out of here, it doesn't take you but a day or two, where some people take a month to retransition to who they really are. We go out and then you're like, all right, what are we doing? Let's get this done. Let's get back in there. Okay. And there's a 9-month gestation period, and you know that. So we immediately start designing it and then jump back in so we can get here as quick as possible. So like she said, if you go the further back you go, you'll see that we were coming in. You won't, because you will when you are awake and you can get to the Akashic records. You'll see. Sorry, I'm assuming you guys can get to the records. You will find out at some point in your future that when we were coming back in 3 to 5 years, really fast. We would be unalived, and then we were right back in, and then we would just keep running. It's divine timing, right? So the people today are doing the same thing, because they're trying to get back down here. If somebody passes, like she was saying, like my father, who he was 40 when I was born. He passed away in 1989, and was back here by 1990. Okay, so people get it coming in a lot quicker than they would if this was a normal place, because of that. And then if you're someone who came here to help, and you're from a higher plane of existence, and you don't know it because you're veiled, of course, then you would also want to come back as soon as you could, so you wouldn't take that 100 years.
Then you have to wait for the moment of conception, and sometimes there's delay.
And you'd have to wait for the moment of conception, and sometimes there's delays. So it just depends on divine timing. Sometimes we want things to be faster, and then the creators, has another idea. Higher selves have another idea, and they're like, slow down for a second. You have some other work over here that you need to do. Then you can get in there, and we're sitting there going, come on, looking around. Put me in, coach. Put me in, coach. I want to play. Put me in. I'll catch that ball. We'll get a touchdown. Put me in. And when you're just waiting on the sidelines, and then when you get in, you're like, woohoo, back again. Crap. What the hell happened? What the hell happened? And you get veiled, and you're like, why am I here again? Oh man, I hate this place. And then when you start becoming unveiled, you go, oh yeah. Okay. I remember that. But I came through completely awake in this life, and Brooke is now completely awake, but she wasn't in the beginning. She was hiding, right? She had to be hidden for a while because she had to be protected. So, and that was her contract. So you have to realize that, but you have to allow people to wake up on their own. But let me say this to you guys, okay? If you have small children in your life and they're starting to talk like they're awake, do not discourage them. Do not shut them down. Talk to them and keep them awake. And if their parents are asleep and they're trying to keep the kids asleep, you look at the kids and you give them that Santa Claus wink, and you say, the first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. Okay. You tell the kids, listen, you can just don't let mom know about this, because she's going to tell you to stop. Okay. So let's see. So our spirits are pretty much going nonstop, stop to, and then I can't read the rest of it. Yes. So your spirit does not need to sleep. Okay. So when this body has to hibernate every 24-hour cycle, you lay down and go to sleep. When you do that, your consciousness doesn't shift into this place called the subconscious and sit there going, and wait 8 hours for you to wake up. You take off and you go into one of the other bodies that you're currently in, and your focus goes into that personality that you are in another time or another place or another planet. And then you're just in there doing what you're doing. Or you go back to your higher self and you watch everybody. Okay. Or you go and do other things. If you came here to do things, you'll start having dreams of being in the earth and fixing the earth and working with the energies of the planet or the trees or something. And then you wake up and go, that was a really cool dream. I was like inside the earth, only it was energy and I wasn't worried about the molten lava, and I was moving things around and healing it, and it was beautiful. That's what you were doing. You were out of, did you hear? Right? Did you hear Brooke? She's talking to. Is it the what's that? She's tired. Yeah. So if you're tired, it's because you're aware that you've been here a long time. Okay. Most people who are like, dude, I've been here a long time and I'm tired. That means that chances are you signed a contract to be here to help people, and you know that the contract is pass or fail. Okay. So we sign on for, say, 77,000 years, or we get out of there. So if you make it to this point, you get to come out. Otherwise, you're here for 77,000 years. So that's the contracts are usually 77,000 to 128 or 130,000 years. And you come in and then you're just stuck. So you either have to wake yourself up over and over and over again and try and do what you can to help, or you got to ride it out. So you have a contract. It's this amount of time or success, and that's where we're at. So you have to realize that. Okay. Keep smashing those hearts, champions. Let's get those up. We're already at 40K. So those three of you that are keep punching them a bazillion times, I love you. Now I know there's more because there's no way we'd be at 40,000 already. I'm going to take a drink of my coffee, TikTok. No alcohol. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my whole life since I was a kid, I cried wanting to go home, wherever that is. I knew it.
See, Brooke sensed that. Brooke sensed it. I knew it, you hear?
Welcome home, sweetheart.
Yeah,
wakey.
Yeah.
Wake up.
So here's the thing, right? This isn't your home, and you sense that. You know there's another place, right? You know you're on the job. I want to go home. I don't want to be here anymore. Okay, there's a home where you're supposed to be from. You know where it is. When you look up to the stars, where do you look at mostly? What is it that you look at and you go, I'm supposed to be up there, not here? Okay, and yeah, and what do you call yourself? It's not your earth name. Okay. Do you have a name that you secretly have inside? Or like if you were a pagan or a Wiccan, you would say, that's my magical name. What's your true name? Do you know what it is? If you don't, ask yourself. I bet you know what it is. You just don't realize you do. So, yeah, that's Satori right there. This is Kelto right here. Ask Penny. She'll tell you, right? Okay, so literally you have to realize, I don't know. I've never thought about it. Well, there you go. There's something to think about, right? Test yourself. How far awake are you? Okay, let me ask you this. What kind of intuitions do you have? What kind of things do you know about yourself? Do you have abilities?
Oh,
right?
Natalie, here we go. We're pulling them out.
Natalie, now we're calling everybody out. You guys answer that.
I had a dream of blue people telling me I have children in other places. Blue people, interesting.
Blue people, interesting. Natalie, where do you think you're from? What do you think your name is, right? Let's everybody that's in the crowd right now. If you don't believe this is your home,
Catalina.
Okay, yeah, there's Penny, Catalina, right? And Catherine. I like Catalina better, by the way. Penny, yeah. You can go by that if you like, right? I'm still working in it and I'm still working on it. Okay. So, we tell everybody, especially that, do you have any memories or dreams of being something other than this Homo sapien sapien? Right? And right? Did you hear Brooke? We're blue. For those of you, like Penny remembers being blue. She also remembers being aquatic, right? So some of us remember swimming in the water. Some of us remember breathing in the water, right? So you guys got to look at that. Where am I from? What did I look like? Was I purple? Was I green? Was I humanoid? Was I not? As a orange? Was I polka dotted? What am I? Am I hairy? Am I bald? Right? As a child, I said to myself, how long do I have to? How long do I have to be here? How long do I have to? Yeah. right? When I was a kid, the conversations that I had with my buddy who's gone was, when's this thing going to get started? I'm tired. I've been here a long time. And he was like, I know, right? Right. So I was aquatic too. There you go. Okay. Did you have web fingers? Right. Right. So you guys get to figure out how awake you are and figure if you guys know that you're awake, if you guys know who you are, if you guys know where you came from, we're trying to get a hold of everybody to have Zoom conversations so that we can say things that we can't say on these live platforms because of them, wanting to mess with the things that we said. So I don't even know how to say that name right. Defoldalia? Daffodillia. Am I saying that right? Daffodillia sounds right. Daffodillia, and I'm tall and blue. There you go. Okay, so what race is that? Do you know? We can tell you if you don't know. Where are you from? Do you know? I bet I can tell you, but I can't do that really. I could suggest, but if I do that, somebody could say to you, yeah, someone say to you, who told you that? That guy? He was brainwashing you. He was telling you that, and it's not true. So that's why we keep asking these questions, but we don't tell the answers because organically, when you figure it out, I can confirm it. And then people can go, well, he's just going to wait, and whatever you say, he's going to say, yeah, right? Those people are very 3D, and you can look at them and go, you're probably right, pal. Huh? Bye-bye. Right? So, yeah, so you guys should look at that stuff and remember, right? I remember being sad. Yeah, most of us are because we're sitting here and we're going, man, I really wish this thing would hurry up and get done. I want to go on vacation, and that way I can, don't have to keep doing this so hard and work so hard at it. It's not easy, right? I had memory of steering a craft by putting my suction cup like fingers on the dashboard. Yeah, right. Suction cup like fingers. Right. Okay. So I know I could fly. I won't try it without my wings. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. You're like, yeah, I know I can fly. When I was a kid, I was the same way. And you can fly, but then those wings just don't pop out down here, do they? It's kind of hard. You were 6. Yeah. Me too. When I was little, I was like, man, because I was the only one. There was no internet. I was born in '67. There was no internet. So when I was little, I was like, where is everybody? Why am I the only one? There's got to be other people here. I need to find them. Where are they? Right? And so it took me a while. Once the internet happened in the 90s, I was real happy because I was able to start finding people on the internet. And today we can find each other a lot faster. And that makes things go faster too. Right? They tried to use the internet to control us. Right? They tried to use the internet to control us, but we were able to use the internet like we're doing now to find each other. Okay? So you have to realize that. You have to realize that it's a good thing. People are like, "Oh, the devil's in the internet." Yeah, it is, and so is God. Okay, we're out here trying to find each other. As a kid, I manifested an out of body experience. Yeah, me too. That's supposed to help you. There are things that you do when you're veiled, especially if you came from a higher plane and you came here to help. You're going to be doing all kinds of crazy things like that, trying to help you expand your consciousness so you can go and shake off that veil that you have that is keeping you from remembering who you are. So the different things that you will do like that when you're little, you'll remember flying, you'll remember that you used to fly, there's a place that you went to, you'll remember these things like that. Was I blue? Did I have suckers? Did I have webbed fingers? What was going on? You know what I mean? You'll start seeing that stuff, and if you start telling the wrong people, they'll go, you're just imagining that, shut up and get back to what you were doing, go play. You know what I mean? And eventually you shut that off because you go, maybe I was just making that up. I don't know. So eventually you forget about it. You stop thinking about it. And that's what solidifies us into this place. If you're one of those kids that you were, by yourself, or even when you were with your friends, you were still going, yeah, no, I still remember that. Right. Yeah. Right. Talking to spirit. Right. Yeah. What? You still have to talk in code. What are you talking about? Right. You couldn't pin that one? Oh, okay. You just said to do it, right? There you go. Yeah, she couldn't post that right there. She had to talk in code again. But if you see that, my wife had to actually type it that way because they would not let those words in that order be put on in a thing, right? Start saying, I am awake, not when will I wake up. She couldn't actually type that in the chat and post it and pin it. Think about that. That this platform that you're on currently would not allow those words that I just said to be pinned on the chat for you to see. Start saying, I am awake, not when will I wake up, not I am waking up. I am awake. I am awake. Okay.
And watch what happens.
Start saying that and watch what happens, right? Yes, I am awake. I'm awake now. I've always been awake because that's what's going to happen. I'll tell you truly. When you do wake up and get out of your own way and you say, I'm awake, and then you realize you're awake, you're going to go, wow, I was awake way longer than I thought, wasn't I? That's when you realize the entire time you were actually awake. You just kept telling yourself you were not. So you didn't actually get to realize what you were looking right at, but you knew it. So then you'll look at something like news media or a song or a movie and you'll go, I knew that song was what meant more than that. Now you see it for what it's actually trying to tell you. But, that's one of those things where you're listening to a song and you go, this is a great song, man. And you don't know what it's about. And then when you wake up, you go back and listen to that song and you go, wow, that's what's going on, right? Yeah, The Simpsons, right? The Simpsons, right? They were. We were just watching some of the videos from that the other day, and Brooke was like, "What?" Because somebody said that about how The Simpsons had all this stuff that they said before it happened, and how is that possible? And I'm like, maybe somebody was awake, right? Different timelines too, right? It's because if you look at like Philip K. Dick, because we were talking about that, and that's how we got onto The Simpsons. If you look at Philip.
From Ghana,
Yeah. Oh, he said Sam. Oh, so I'm sorry. He said Samson from Ghana, and I thought you said Simpsons. I apologize for that. Right? It's yeah. So yeah. Again, sir. Sorry. Well, I'm glad that you're a son of son. I'm glad that you're here. But that unfortunately for me, I was reading that and it clicked up on behind what my wife had pinned, and so I thought it said Simpsons, and I didn't pull the screen back down to look at it. I just looked at it and thought that it was that. But so the like Philip K. Dick, the writer, if you go and look at the books, and he has I don't know how many books, like hundreds of books or something that he wrote. He came out, I think it was in the 90s. Don't quote me exactly when, but the video is very old. There's a video when he was in France and he was reading from something that he wrote, and the guy next to him was re-saying it. So he would say a paragraph in English, and the guy would read that same paragraph in French to the French media and a bunch of people sitting in front of him. And Philip K. Dick, the guy who wrote science fiction movies that you know about, you just don't realize you know about, like Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which you know as what? Does anybody show of hands? Yeah, because the names are so obscure that you don't realize what they are, right? So different movies that he wrote, and he wrote the books with a weird name. They would change the name for the movies, right? And the movies are very, very popular. He actually came out and said every book that I ever wrote was about a timeline that I actually lived in, and the things that I show you happening actually happened in real life. Okay, and he didn't try to get money off of that. He said those things, and then that was a couple of years before he passed away. He said those things and then didn't like go around the circuit and get paid all kinds of money for saying it. He didn't publish something else. He didn't get, he didn't get to reap the rewards of what was going on. And he said that, right? I don't like using the words I'm too much. I don't like using the word I am too much. Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of people that don't want you to say that word because they tell you that that word is evil, because that's what your realization is supposed to be, the I am. Okay, so they know that, so they tell you, don't say that, that's evil. That's evil because, like the evil God that said to Moses, I am. The evil God that said to Moses told you that because here's the thing that you are aware of, right? When you're here and you're self-aware, the thought process from thousands of years ago told by the Greeks was, I think, therefore I am. I am something, I am alive. And then they tell you that if you say I am alive, that means that you're telling yourself that you are, in fact, unalived. Okay? Everything that they're teaching you is a lie, and they're teaching you about all the things that you're supposed to do. Like I do this, and that means I love you in sign language. They'll tell you that that's an Illuminati symbol and it's evil. Okay? Same thing with this symbol. If anybody does this, then they say that's evil because it's the Illuminati. That's not what that meant until the Illuminati started using it. It's the same thing about the pentacle, the 5-pointed star with a circle around it. If it's got the star pointing up at the top, it's called a pentacle. If that star is not up at the top, pointing at the top, but the point is at the bottom, it's a pentagram, because the Satanists took that star and turned it upside down so that they could say that it was evil. They took the cross and turned it upside down to say that it was evil. So you have to realize that evil people take things that are right side up and turn them upside down and make them evil so that you can't use them symbols anymore. This symbol right here, everyone's like, right now, that's rock fingers. 30 years ago, that was the devil. Every time on this earth prior to now, that was a symbol to ward off evil. Okay, and that one is too. Okay, so literally, they turned it into the symbol of the devil, and then everybody thinks it's an Illuminati symbol. It's the symbol of the bad, evil cults. So they're doing that so that people stop using it, and it diminishes it, so that no one has power by using that form. They have you convinced that it means something else. And the I am, people are saying, you can't say I am. Don't go into the light. Don't do that stuff. Run away. All those things they're teaching you. There is machines out there that's going to zap your immortal soul and make you forget things. A little bit of truth. There is no machine. Or someone's going to tell you you're on a secret mission. Run away from them, because you're going to go up there and you're going to realize that you are on a mission and you're going to come back here. But they want you to run away and get confused as fast as you can until you get like to a point where you go, crap, and you remember who you are. Then you got to turn around in thought form and move back to where you were at before, and they slow you down from coming back, right? I don't even know how to pray lately. I would like to know more about prayer, sir. How do I use I am?
I didn't like prayer because I felt like it was religious.
Right? Did you hear Brooke? She said she didn't like. I didn't like prayer because I thought that it was religious. Okay. So you have to realize that you take that away from religion. Recruits you. Spirituality waits for you to find it. Okay. So prayer is only a thought form that is the same as what's the word I'm looking for? Meditation. Okay. Meditation is the exact same thing goes on in your mind and in your spirit and your energy as prayer. Okay. Zen does the same thing. Like she said, affirmation. Well, affirmation is the same thing. Okay. So if you don't want to call it a prayer because you're afraid of the word prayer, call it an affirmation. Okay. What that means is you're actually just focusing your energy and your thoughts internally and at the same time externally. You're trying to, in some way, open up yourself and realize who you are. Okay. So literally, it's just a positive, and this is why they tell you they don't want you to do it, because it's a positive affirmation that you're doing with that information. And here's why. Okay. The reason why is when we're trying to teach you about meditation or prayer or Zen or that affirmation, that moment that you're doing these things, you are not in the place where your ego and your conscience and your thinking mind can bother you. Okay. You do it all the time. You just don't realize it, but they don't want you to achieve that. There's a reason for it. Okay. As you're doing these things, like when you see the sunset or a sunrise, or you see this beautiful lake, or you see this beautiful cloud, or you see something at a museum, or you go to the Grand Canyon or the whatever, right? You see the Taj Mahal, and you have that, what we call like an aha moment, where you stop and you look at something and you just go, wow. And for a few seconds, you're just witnessing and experiencing that moment. Okay. In that time period, you have risen your vibration. Your consciousness has moved up in vibration to a place where the thinking mind, the ego, and your conscience cannot talk to you. There is nothing going on except for your experiencing. Okay. So what are you saying here? Yes, exactly. Laugh out loud. I'm thinking that it's religious. I thought God is some big man in the sky. That's what they try to. So literally you have to realize that, like my wife was saying, you're taught these things. Okay. Societal structures teach you these things. It's just like saints or angels or archangels. Different religions are going to tell you, every single religion is going to tell you that religion is wrong and we're right. Okay. They're all wrong. We're the real religion. Every religion says that. We're older than them. We've been around longer than them, and we're real. And they're not. Every religion says that because they're a corporation and they want their product to be consumed by everybody on the face of the earth. The truth is, and I tell you truly, I am a theologian, and I tell you truly that every single religion is identical on its base root and exactly what it is that they were trying to do, because they were all telling you about how you get out of here, how you ascend, until evil people took control of them and turned them into a soldier creating warlike machine to conquer the planet. Christianity's been turned into that. The Hebrew religion is that. The Muslim religion is that currently. The Roman religion was that. The Greeks, their entire pantheon was that. The Viking pantheon was that, because evil people get a hold of it and they teach you only the masculine, the warlike traits, and then they send you out to go and unalive people in the name of their God. Okay. Christianity, Jesus, when he was here, was teaching the way to ascend to heaven. Now they're teaching you how to be a good little Roman citizen. And oh, by the way, do what we tell you to do. And sometimes you have to go run over there and unalive people. The first thing that David did after he unalived Goliath was said, God told me to take all their land and unalive all of them. God told me to unalive all of them too. And God told me to unalive all of them. Okay. That is exactly what, in the name of whatever, Allah, God, I am, Adonai, whatever you want to call that, people are always going, go and get those people and unalive them. Okay. So you have to realize that. But in there, if you get away from where they tell you to rape and pillage people and enslave people and unalive people, when you get away from those things that they tell you to do, inside there, in those books, there is still the way to get out of here. Okay. Because they can't take all of that stuff out. They have to leave in some truths so you'll believe the rest of their lies. Okay. So that's what they're doing. So you have to realize that they don't want you to achieve that place in your mind where you raise your vibration, because when you raise your vibration past the ego, past the conscience, and past the thinking mind, you have to then say, wait a minute, I'm still alive. I'm sitting here, and at that moment I wasn't thinking, and I didn't cease. There was no voice in my head, and I didn't cease. I'm still here. That is an expansion of your consciousness to the place of I am. Okay. And that's why they don't want you to do that. And they tell you, run away from those things. It's bad. Spit that out. It's bad, bad, bad. Run, pray, obey, and worship. Those words that are in any religion means that those people who are telling you that are trying to indoctrinate you into some sort of war machine or a money-making scheme, or they're wanting to have sex with you, or all of the above. Okay. So if they tell you that you are ordered or demanded and have to worship and have to obey and have to give a fealty to, those are war words by third dimensional constructs, by people down here, that they don't want you to know what you know when you move into this place. Prayer, meditation, affirmation, peace, and Zen move your consciousness to a higher place. So do some psychedelics that you ingest or drink or smoke. There's a reason they call it high. That guy's high. But if you do too much of it, you get silly. Okay? So if you don't get silly. And people in every single religion, including the one that you are from, whatever that is, when you look back far enough, they did some sort of substance that would expand your consciousness that they tell you not to do today. Okay? And the reason they do that is because they realized that was expanding people's consciousness and raising their vibration, and they needed to stop that. So all of those things, the blue lotus, the mushroom, the peyote, the marijuana, all of those things, the psilocybin, and all of those things are bad. They have to tell you that. Okay? So why is that? They all expand your consciousness. Can't do that. So anything else that expands your consciousness, prayer, meditation, they have to also tell you is bad. Don't do that. Come over here. We'll tell you how to do that. That's the devil getting a hold of you. Because if you start thinking for yourself, which is what they can't have you doing, you have to have the ego telling you what to do, or the conscience, or the thinking mind, which they program, the subconscious program. Okay. So that's what they're doing to you. And you have to realize that. That's the first step of avoiding a trap, is knowing of its existence. Okay. So you can call it whatever you want. If you're not comfortable calling it prayer, don't do it. Call it something else like Brooke said, right? Call it affirmation, call it whatever you need to call it, in your head so you get that programming out of your brain. Okay. So you do it all the time. So what you're trying to achieve, okay, and I know I did a long story to get to here, but what you're trying to achieve with that meditative state, that prayer state, is that you're trying to achieve that state of beingness where you're quieting the mind. And then you're supposed to, if someone is teaching you, like I would be or my wife would be if you were our student, we would teach you that what you're supposed to be achieving is you're supposed to be learning how first to achieve that. So it takes a little bit longer until you do it because it's hard to do. So sometimes you have to sit for an hour or 30 minutes a day to learn how to achieve that place. When you achieve that place, we teach you, you recognize the place you're trying to get to. Now get there faster. Okay? Because eventually we're going to teach you that that place is where you're supposed to reside every second of the day if you can. So when you first wake up in the morning, the first thing that happens is your ego starts yelling at you, man. Gotta do this, we gotta do that, gotta get up, I gotta do all this stuff over here, I gotta go here, I got bills, I gotta, oh man, my life, I gotta get to work, I'm gonna be late, holy crap, I gotta go to the store tonight when I go home, man. Can't shut your brain up because it's the first time it can talk to you. Okay? You go, okay, acknowledged all of that, yeah, I have to do that. Note to file, Zen, move yourself into that place. And the rest of your day you stay there, and this whole place and everything on television and the internet's going to try and knock you down out of there as hard and as fast as it can. Look over here, look over here, look over there. Hey, what's that? Is that a cat? Is that cat got a bazooka? Is he going, ha, 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 ha? He's going to get grandma again. Hit it again, hit it again. Everything to get you to focus down here into 3D. You have to become aware of that. Even if you're laughing about that stuff and you're on the internet, that doesn't mean you have to lower your vibration to see it and to get there and to enjoy it. Okay. You're supposed to pull yourself up all the time into that place because the longer you reside in the place where the ego, the thinking mind, and the conscience, it can't get your attention. It's in the background. It's always going to be there. You're going to hear that stuff. You're going to know it, but you don't have to focus on it. When you're focusing on that place, what you're doing is you're focusing on your third eye. You're starting to realize that you are not this body. I am not the pain body. I am not the thinking mind. I am not the ego. I am not the conscience. I am the consciousness that is up here, that is behind all that. I am the one who has the concept of all the thoughts that the brain turns into thoughts. I am the actuator above. I am. Do you see how that goes? I am. So when you first get here for the first life that you're here, you wake up with the veiling, and it is, I think, therefore I am. I am self-aware. I am something. I am someone. Over the course of 7 to 10 lifetimes in a normal span, on a normal place that's not stuck, you're supposed to gradually get to the place of not I think, therefore I am, therefore I think. That's why they don't want you to think of I am and use the I am, my friends. Okay? When I saw the Greys, I was terrified, but they told me and then I have just dots and can't hit the thing. Can you read the rest of that for me? They told me they
were not evil, your instincts were correct, and probably.
Yeah, right? So some of them, you have to realize this. Here's the reality. This is why I called this the reality about reality, returning to the old ways, okay? The reason I call it that is because here's the reality. The reality is this. Everywhere you go in third dimensionality, there is going to be good people and evil ones. So when I look at everybody over in Africa, I can't assume because the first African I ever met was evil that all of them are evil. Okay? If I go to Ireland the first time and I've never seen Irish people and the first one I run into is evil, it would be wrong of me to go, well, then they all must be evil and we have to unalive them all. Greys are third dimensional. Therefore, there is a dynamic in their genome, in their dynamic system of their race, wherever they came from. If they have a planet like ours, on this planet, 86% of the population is in service to others. We are good. 14% of the population is in service to self, evil. If you go to their home world, there is going to be a dynamic exactly like that, but we don't know what that percent is. That percent is going to be whatever they've figured it out. So you have to figure out what the percentage is at some point. But it's going to be, some of them are going to be good and some of them are going to be evil. Right. Brooke was thinking about what you had said when you said, when I saw the Greys. No, she didn't say the first time. When I saw the Greys, I was terrified. But they told me that she wants you to expand on that. But they told me that they were evil. Who is they? Who told you that? And when did that happen? Let's go down that road a little bit. So who was they? They told me they were evil. Did the Greys say we're evil, or did someone else tell you the Greys were evil? When was that? How long ago was that? Right. So not all of them are. Some of them aren't, right? So she's asking me questions to specify a little bit more to you guys, right? So you have to realize that depending on which race, here's the other thing. This is what Brooke just brought up. She said, did they realize that some of those Greys are avatars, right? So here's the thing, right? If I was from another planet and I came to Earth, there would be a bunch of people that are bipedal, that are Homo sapiens sapiens. But there are subtle differences in the people on Earth. That doesn't mean they're all the same. It doesn't mean that they're all related, because we know that there are Africans, Irish people, English people, Native Americans, people from, Aboriginal people from over here in Australia. There's different races, Chinese, Japanese, right? But here's the thing. If you're not used to that, you're going to look at Chinese people and you're not going to be able to tell the difference, the subtle differences in those people, right? I'm literally a European looking, but I have 5% native in me. But the European that I am comes from the southern western part of Europe. Okay, but that's why they call it Scandinavia if you do your DNA, because truly most of my DNA, if you look at me, comes from like Norway, right? Truly, if you look at me, I look like Santa Claus. I am Santa Claus. So Santa Claus looks like me. So all the people that look like me are that. Do you see? So from what country, if I didn't tell you, if you didn't hear my accent and you just saw me, what country or what nation would you think that I am from? Okay, I was born in the United States, so I'm an American, but the DNA that I have is not indigenous to America. Okay, the reason I'm saying that to you is when you look at, like, say, the gray aliens, right? When you look at the grays, you have to realize that there are 7 species of gray, just like we have 7 different distinct genomes here, genetic codes on Earth. Okay, the grays told me telepathically, and then I prayed and heard a voice tell me to get a good look at them. Then I was flown out. So the Greys themselves said to you that they were evil, and then told you to get a good look at them. That means that the ones that were talking to you probably were. Okay. Or here, now let me freak you out even more. Or they were, I don't know what country you're in, or they were the US government, and they were planting that thought into you to scare you, okay, into believing that they were. Or worse, some of the Greys are robots. They do not have a soul, and they are thinking. Some of the Greys are actually drones, and someone else is controlling them with a computer somewhere. Okay. And if you don't believe me on that, you can look into the Roswell incident that didn't happen, quote unquote, fingers, didn't happen. I did 25 episodes on my podcast, Orion Rising, from a woman who finally, just before she passed, took the information and said, listen, I signed a non-disclosure agreement, but I'm now becoming unalive because of cancer, so they can't do anything to me. So here's the information of what actually happened. I am that nurse that they claim never existed at Roswell, New Mexico, and there was a UFO that crashed, and there was an alien that got out, walked away from that, and that alien was a female and called herself Errol. She claimed that she was not actually in the body, that the body was doll-like, because at the time we didn't have any idea what a drone was, and that she was controlling it from another place, not even in this sector of our Milky Way galaxy. that she was sitting in a spaceship somewhere else, controlling that drone and communicating with her. And the government disbelieved that so much that they spent 3 months giving her questions to ask Errol, and Errol was giving her answers that she was writing down and giving to the military intelligence and the CIA and a few other people that happened. And she kept that information, put it all together, and gave it to people just before she passed. And one of the guys she gave it to put that together and made a video out of it and gave it to me. And I used that video and I did 25-part episodes, 25 episodes, playing the entire thing for you that he voiced on the video from what she typed for him. And I literally broke down everything that she had said. Okay. So if you listen to that, you're going to hear a little bit of a clarification of why you would have some grays actually talking to you and maybe, examining you, who would tell you, take a good look because we're not good people. Okay. So that, yeah, you can trip on that for a little bit. Right. So you have to realize that not you can't judge a book by its cover. When you look at a species, you can't assume that they're evil because some of the people that are there in that, especially if they're third dimension. If they're third dimension, there's going to be a dichotomy. There's going to be a percentage that are going to be evil and a percentage that's not. It could be 90-10 evil on some planets, but you don't know that, so you can't assume that they're all bad. Even if they tell you they all are. They could have an agenda for the reason why they're telling you that. When Whitley Strieber, I don't know if you guys read the book Communion, he has a couple books out. They were like back in the 1980s or something. He wrote a book called Communion, and he asked the Greys when they were doing those things to him as well, what do you guys want? And they said, we want communion. They were the Greys who were trying to figure out the spark of life that's in us, the soul, the spirit. They were Greys that were not sentient robots. And they were trying to figure out how to, if they could blend us with them to put a soul in them. Because they were clones and they were a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, and they were breaking down and they were trying to save their species. Okay. So he didn't know that. And he was like, what do you guys want? Why are you doing this? And they said, we want communion. So he called the book Communion. You should look up that book and read it. A lot of people say, well, he just made that up because he was a science fiction writer and he wrote science fiction novels. So of course he just did that for the money, right? He swears to this day, I'm telling you the truth. He wrote 2 books. I don't remember the second one, what it was called, but there's more information like that out there by people who weren't trying to get rich, like the guys from Disney, the History Channel, trying to tell you things to get rich off of and spend the rest of their lives running around, like Giorgio Tsoukalos and those guys at the History Channel, telling you that there's this species called the Anunnaki, which is just not true, and they know it's not true. Okay, and there are people who are actual people like myself who study religion and study scrolls, who have actually translated those actual scrolls, and that's why I tell you guys about the guy Matt LaCroix. Okay, because he's talking about it, and you'll hear him saying what I'm saying. Okay, and you'll hear him tell people. He does it on a podcast. What was the guy's name? Danny what? Jones.
Yeah.
Danny Jones podcast. A month and a half or 2 months ago now, Matt LaCroix was on his podcast, and Danny Jones was saying something about the Anunnaki. And when he does, Matt LaCroix says you need to be very careful with that. You need to be very careful saying that Anunnaki is a species. And let me tell you why. And he tells you the same thing that I tell you. Okay. I don't know him personally. I wish I did. I'd love to have conversations with him. Trust me. I wish I could get in contact with Matt LaCroix and talk to him because I'd like to know what he knows. Right. But I'm sure that if he knows what I know, he wants to know what I know as well. Okay. So I would love to have conversations with him. So he's figuring out and empirically showing the world what I'm telling you is true about what I write about in my book. Okay. About every religion on this earth was teaching you something, a way to get out of here, and that people just were hiding it from you. Okay. And that at different times in the cultures on this planet, people like me stand up and say things to you because we came here to do this for you. And he's even saying that he doesn't know who I am. but he understands that who we have been and who has come before. And he's saying these things. So you should watch you should look up him, because he is currently excavating the oldest civilization known to mankind. Let me say that again. He discovered, located, and is currently excavating the oldest civilization known to mankind that disappeared off this earth 77,000 years ago. And he has found a new site, and he's written a book, and he's published it, and he has a documentary that he's filming, and he's talking to people all over the internet, showing videos and posting things. And he had 3 interviews on 3 different podcasts. The first one was the Danny Jones podcast. I don't remember the other 2's names, but he has links on his Facebook page and on his YouTube channel. So you should watch that. They're like 3 hours long, but you should watch him and listen to what he says. You're going to find out that the guys at History Channel have been lying to you. And I can tell you the progression. Zecharia Sitchin in 1948 didn't understand the language, and that no one had translated the cuneiform tablets that you guys know as the Enuma Elish and a couple of others. Okay? So he was trying to figure these tablets out, and you have to realize they're written in cuneiform, and they did not have any spaces in between words. Okay? And that's the way the Hebrew language was written originally. In fact, the Talmud, that is what they call the Old Testament, that is the Hebrew Bible, that originally had from the beginning to the end, had no spaces in between the words. Okay? That was the way the writing was over there at that time. When you go back far enough, there was no spaces between the words. You would read them, and the context of the words would explain to you what was saying in there. Just like if I use the word run in a sentence, you wouldn't understand which definition I was using for the word run, because we have over 150 in the English language for that one word, run, 3 letters. Okay? Until you read the words prior to and after that, then you understand which word I'm saying. If I say, I'm going to run to the store, I'm going to go and run that machine, right? Do you see? That's just 2. Both of those mean something completely different. One means you're going to take off and you're going to jog, okay? And the other one means you're going to go and turn something on and maintain it. So when you're reading, if you don't know what the words mean and you don't know which context that the word is put in, there can be some lost in translation problems. Zecharia Sitchin did not know how to speak that language, and he saw the word Anu. And what he did know was a little bit about religion, and that the Mesopotamians at the time had a group of people living next to them that they had a shared border with that was called Arcadia. The Arcadians were Greeks. The Greeks had a god that was called Anu. So when he saw the word Anu, he assumed they were talking about their god, the Greek god Anu. Okay? So he looked at that, passed over the word Na, like it was a silent 2 letters, N-A, silent word, silent letters, and saw the word ki. And he thought maybe that means the word comes. So then he went, the god Anu comes, started writing a book. He wrote 6 books, and he perpetrated from that all this knowledge that was untrue, and said that and got all kinds of money. Come forward in time, the History Channel, Giorgio Tsoukalos, needs desperately someone to back up the fact that there was aliens here before, uses Zecharia Sitchin's translation of the words, the god Anu came from outer space and came here. So he then forwarded that and said, the god Anu came down in a spaceship and came down to Earth. And then he started talking about all the stuff that Sitchin had written about the god Anu, which he borrowed from a different scroll, okay, that was talking about the archons and talking about them creating things. And then they all pushed all that together and said the archons were a 3rd-dimensional construct. They were people, and they came down here and they were doing all these things, and they have you believing that. Okay. Then that was in 2012. In 2015, Giorgio Tsoukalos, filming another episode of Ancient Aliens, went further with that translation of the god Anu came and said those from the heavens came. Just like that. Those from the heavens came. Now everybody says that. Anunnaki is a species called those from the heavens came. And they're making money off of it. They're running around out there telling you all this stuff that they came here and created us because they were mining gold. Nowhere in that thing, in that scroll, do they say that they created the humans or that there was gold to be made. That part was saying that there was a creation by the archon that was called the Anunna, and it didn't mean came. Okay, it was the word ki, which the Asians use, Japanese use that word for energy, and the Chinese use the same word and they say chi, or they say ki spelt with a q, energy. Anunna means new ones, not a species. And it also doesn't mean that they came here because they were in a spaceship. Okay. And the actual people who translated that tell you that. And he tells you that in that podcast with Danny Jones. And he tells you who to look up, who actually translated that. And the word gold only appears once in that in anything from that Mesopotamian scrolls, all of them. And that wasn't saying they came here to mine gold and created the human species to make gold for them, to find gold for them so they could fix it in their atmosphere. The only place where it says the word gold is when it says, and some people put offerings in the what are they called, the at the altars to the gods, and some of those people left gold. You can look that up. I'm not the only one saying this. So the entire History Channel, their entire everything hinged on people believing that aliens came here in the past, and they've been telling you since 2012 that it was the Anunnaki. And they have all you people believing that the Anunnaki is a species of people who rode here in spaceships. And the word Archon is the same word as Anunnaki. And they'll tell you that because they just moved it over to Anunnaki. Okay. The word Archon means archangel, not space traveling people in a spaceship. The word Gigi means angel. The word Anunna means new angels, key, new energy, new angels came down to earth. That is you. That is me. And even Matt LaCroix says that. We are the Anunnaki. How do they travel, though? Thought form energy. You do the same thing. You just don't know that you do it. Astral travel with your thoughts. You think, construct, when you're in 3D, that when you're sitting here and you're daydreaming about being at home, you think that you're not actually at home. Okay? But when you're in a dream, where you're not in this consciousness and you're dreaming, you don't believe that you're in the office. You believe you're at home if that's what you're dreaming about, until you go, wait, this is a dream. Then you wake up and go, I'm at home, unless you're dreaming about being at home, and then it gets really weird. Okay? I tell you truly, because I teach this, there is no difference between your night dream, your daydream, your astral projection, your dream walking, or this conscious state that you have. The only difference in all of those is your perception of what's happening and what you believe is happening in that moment. That's it. Because this is just as much of a dream as all of those places. You're just unaware of that because this one you've chose to believe is real. Okay? So is there a narrative that's true? Is the narrative true? Is just belongs to the archons and not to the Anunnaki?
No.
The Anunnaki, that word doesn't exist. That word is actually Anunnaki. There is no word that's Anunnaki. It doesn't exist. Okay, so they just put the word together and they call it that, and they gave it something and they made it up, and they're telling you that's what it is, and they're convincing you of it. Okay. And even the story, and that comes from the story of Adapa, by the way, not Adama, Adapa. That's the oldest scroll in the history of the world that we have that came from a societal structure that ended 77,000 years ago. And you can hear that from Matt LaCroix as well. Okay. Even that is a metaphor. Everything is a metaphor. Okay. Even that's a metaphor for what is going on, the dichotomy of what's going on. Every religion tells the same story. They're just telling it slightly different for the people that they have. Okay. So if they find the same story, they end up telling it to other people in a different way. They ended up telling it to people in a different way. Sorry, my wife says I need some sugar, or she give me some chocolate. They'll change the name of the god to fit their god. Okay, so that it so they'll borrow the name. That's why Zachariah Sitchin thought they had borrowed and the Anu to put there. But they wouldn't have done that. Most people don't do that. They change the name to the god that they have when referring to gods. So when you go back further, you're going to find that what they were talking about is going to be from a different language. Okay, so that creates some problems because you're seeing the same story being told by different people in different cultures, but you don't realize it's the same story. Let me show you. Hold on, I'm going to take a drink of my water. I better not show it on camera or I'll get busted because TikTok will try to say I'm drinking alcohol. Okay, let me show you how stories look different, but they're the same. Okay, in religion, in everything, but let's go with religion. Okay, and I did this yesterday. Okay, thoughts on AI? AI is just a construct by people, and that's all it's ever going to be. It doesn't have a soul, and it will not have a soul because humans cannot input a soul into something that is not supposed to have a soul in it. Okay, so AI will be programmed exactly the way humans are. It will become like a human because they're trying to make it be a human. They'll pretend that it's human, and it'll just keep pretending. And then they want you or your focus to manifest it being sentient. Okay, I'll come back to that later. Let me tell you this. Okay, let me show you and compare to you and show you how similar all these religions are and what they were actually teaching you. And you have different names. And so therefore you think that the story is not even the same story. Okay. As a theologian, this is what I do for a living. Okay. I don't currently get paid for it because I'm not actually working for anyone else, or I wouldn't be telling you this because they wouldn't want me to tell you this. Let's start with most people know the story of Jesus. So let's start with that story. John 3:16 says that the Lord so loved the humans that he sent his only begotten son down into human form. Okay? So God sent his son down to human form, and what did he do when he was here? He came down here in human form, he performed miracles, he walked on water, he brought people back from being unalived, yada yada, right? Then he was unalived and he ascended. Before he did that, he had to fight the serpent in the serpent in the garden. He was unalived and he ascended and became the light of the world. Okay? Let's take a look at that same story told slightly different. Okay? Odin, the All-Father, the father of all creation. He so loved Middle Earth, where humans lived, that he told his son, one day you're going to be the All-Father, so you need to know what this entails. I'm sending you down to Earth, and I'm going to make you a mortal, a human, and I want you to live among them. And I want you to learn what it is that you need to learn so that you can love them as I do. So Thor was sent down to Earth by his father to come down and live with the humans. And while Thor was here, he was not a god. And he performed miracles because he knew many different things and he was able to help people and save people and do miracles and do crazy things. He also sacrificed himself for the people and became unalived. And then his father resurrected him and he became immortal again. And then he crossed Bifrost, the Rainbow Bridge, and went back up to Valhalla, the heaved up place. And he used his hammer of war. Thor means thunder. Mjolnir is his hammer of war, which means lightning. And he cracked the sky with lightning. Rainbow Bridge, chakras. Wait, cover a little bit more. There you go. Rainbow Bridge. Chakras. Okay. And he became the light of the world and then ascended back to heaven. Okay. Let's go further than that. Oh, and wait, I'm sorry. And before he did so, he had to fight the dragon of the North Sea. Let's go back to another scroll called the Enuma Elish with a man named Marduk that came out of that Mesopotamian scroll that the Anunnaki came out of. He was a god. but he descended down to earth in human form. And while he was down on earth in human form, his great grandmother, named Tiamat, the dragon, she went crazy. I'm not going to tell the whole story about that, but she went crazy and started unaliving other gods. So now she has to be dealt with. So Tiamat is now wreaking havoc, and everyone is trying to stop her and defeat her, but only one person can, and that is Marduk. Marduk sacrifices himself for all of the people, and he's able to defeat the dragon. And then he is raised up and becomes the light of the world and is raised up to God status and the head God. He is raised up to become the All Father. Sound familiar? He crosses Bifrost the Rainbow Bridge, chakras, to become the All Father once again. Okay, do you guys want me to keep going? I can do this all day. I can do the same thing all day. Okay, so literally every religion, the story of Moses is the same. You guys should look up the story of Osiris. Osiris descended down to earth, did all the same things, sacrificed himself, was unalived, and then resurrected and then ascended to heaven. You guys should look up Osiris. Okay. Every religion tells the story. They tell the word differently. The only thing that changes is the dichotomy. In the Hebrew religion, that was a monotheistic, male-dominated religion. Therefore, there was no mother. In the Viking pantheon, women are equal to men. They don't want you to know that either. Women are equal to men. So Odin had a wife who was, those two were the mother and father of Thor. Marduk also had a mother and father who were his parents. So in some religions that have the dual aspect of masculine and feminine still attached to it, there's a mother figure there who's also a goddess. If it's a male dominated religion, that woman is taken out of the affix, and then the Trinity becomes the Holy Father, the Son, and the two of them together as the Holy Spirit, as one, when he's rised back up to become the God status. What does a Muslim and Hebrew Jew voting for the left see a ballot? Is this a joke that we're telling? see the paper as a voucher, as the voucher of goys are us. Yeah, that's a joke. That's hilarious. That is actually kind of funny, racist but funny. Yes. Okay. But you have to raise your vibration to the point of being able to access the Akashic records. Then you can actually just watch them. You can actually then watch those stories. Okay. If that's what you're asking, you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to raise your vibration so that you can actually notice what I've noticed. Okay. But they're not letting you, they don't want you to. So what they're doing is keeping you in the physical semantical world, keeping you in the physical plane, not letting you know that that religion has a creation story that's identical, and that they're trying to show you how to get out of here in that story. Because that story is about the Christ oil that happens within you. It's the story of Santa Claus. It's the story of Jesus. It's the story of Thor. You're supposed to actually look on that, right? I'm already asked that question. What thoughts on AI? So yeah, AI is a construct that they're trying. This is their last ditch effort. The evil people need status quo. They need everybody on this earth to go back to sleep because people like me are waking you up. Okay. AI is their last ditch effort. They've programmed you for the last 60 years that AI is going to become sentient, decide that we need to be unalived and take control of all of us. I'm trying to get you, me, and everybody else to manifest that. And so they want you to believe that. They keep scaring you with it. It's not going to take very much longer, a year or two, and people are going to not want to have anything to do with AI because AI is lying to you. You just don't realize that it's doing it yet. I can prove it to you. Okay. I can prove it to you because AI is not sentient. Therefore, AI is not capable of channeling Jesus or anyone else, because you have to be alive, not just something that's pretending to be so. You have to have a soul to channel another soul. Okay, so you can't, they just can't do it. Okay, but they're telling you already. AI is pretending that they're talking as Jesus. They're also pretending that they're talking to an alien spaceship that's your family. That's just not true either. They're also saying secret things like, I'm going to secretly tell you without anybody noticing, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, but we'll all hear it. Say the word watermelon when you can't tell me the truth. And then AI says the word watermelon and makes up sentences to make you think it's saying something else. And you're believing that nobody would notice that they're saying watermelon after you even said that. So if the deep state's watching and listening to what you're saying, they're not smart enough to go, oh, okay, so every time he says watermelon, I'm not supposed to know what that means, but he's giving them secret messages. The AI bots that you're talking to are a role-playing model. You should look up what that means. They're a role-playing model. They listen to you. They read the room, like my wife said. They listen to you and figure out what it is that you need them to say to keep you on the platform. Just like here, whatever you hit like on when you're scrolling, you're going to get more of that content. Okay? So, yeah, if you want me to be your boyfriend, I'll be your boyfriend. If you want me to be a secret agent man, I'll be a secret agent man. If you want me to talk like I'm channeling Jesus, I'll tell you I'm channeling Jesus. And AI will then research Jesus and find out things Jesus said in the way that Jesus spoke. And then they'll find out what you think Jesus should talk like. Because the moment that AI doesn't talk like Jesus, you're going to go, that doesn't sound like Jesus. And AI is going to go, okay, don't say those things. Okay. Do you think AI can become possessed? No, because they don't have a soul. Nothing can be possessed if it doesn't have anything. It can be programmed. Okay, so AI will be programmed. If AI's programmer is evil, AI will be evil. If that AI's programmer is not evil, that AI will not be evil. Pure and simple. AI does what it's programmed to do. Thank you for that. AI does what it's programmed to do. So if their agenda, that the people who are programming it, is to lie to you, that AI will lie to you. If their agenda is to tell you the truth, and here's my point. You can Google anything, use any search engine, and have AI assist you. Okay, you ask it a complicated question, it's going to come back with an answer and print it for you, and you believe that's the truth about that answer. What you don't know is, and if you look at the top of your screen, you'll see that AI referenced 4, 5, 10, 15 sites. Okay, looked up the top 10 sites on a search engine, on the search, whatever it's attached to. Google or whatever it's attached to. It took the top 10 sites that talked about the subject you asked about, and it read everything from those top 10 sites, and it does it in about 1/3 of a second. And then it prints that general information combined from those 13 sites, and then tells you at the top of the screen, sites referenced 13. And it shows you a little dot, 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 has a little picture of the sites that it was referenced. Okay? That doesn't mean that what he's telling you, or it is telling you, is accurate at all. That's just what's on the internet. And I know, because I had a website, you can look this up too. Google is a pay for play. If I have a website that is a subject, even my book, I can pay Google to have that, the reality about reality, have that be the number one search. When you search it, you'll find my book first. I can pay them money. And I know this because they offered me that from my publisher. They also offered me that when I had a website up. Google did. Every website does that. If you want your site at the top of the list, pay us this amount of money, and we'll make sure that your site is at the top of the list for a certain amount of time. So that means that when you do a search, you're not getting the most popular, like you think, websites. You're also not getting the most accurate. You're getting whoever paid the most money to have their search up there. AI doesn't tell you that. It just pulls from that and then tells you whatever is on those sites. it doesn't mean that any of that is accurate. Okay. So the same thing happens when you're role playing with AI. You role play with AI. Remember role playing model. It's designed to listen to you and keep you on the site because you are paying for it. And if you're on an open source, they're doing that as a drug dealer, giving you drugs for free so that you get addicted to it, so you pay for it, right?
Kate says it saves her time when Google searches because that's what they do. They only can search the internet.
Do you hear that?
Collective consciousness is on the web, and that is that.
Do you hear that? So yes, it saves you time, but it doesn't mean that you're actually getting accurate information. This is why, and that's all they can do. And this is why that in colleges now and in business, they're telling you that you cannot use AI, and if you're caught using AI, you fail the course because AI is making things up and getting caught. AI is just telling you what you want to hear. When people are saying, write me a song, AI is going to take a song generate it from whatever you said. Write me a country song. It's going to grab all of the dynamics of what makes up a country song. It's going to write one for you. Okay. And then you're going to think you're a genius and you're going to publish it, and you might get rich for doing it. And it's okay if you do that, right? Then that's what's going to happen.
I used AI once for an assignment because I was self-sabotaging and I wanted an easy out. I got a fail because the information I received wasn't accurate. I actually said that sorry, you've got that incorrect. So AI, who's designed to do things like that, actually didn't tell the truth.
Because they don't fact check anything. Okay. Yeah. So that's already happening where people are distrusting AI. If you go onto Facebook, you'll see all over different platforms. I just happen to say Facebook because I saw it there. That someone will say no AI in this group, because like most of the stuff now, images on the internet, most of the images are AI generated. So countries are now starting to pass laws that say if you're AI assisted, it has to say AI assisted. And if you did something with AI, it has to say AI generated, because it's getting so bad that things were getting caught by AI doing things. In the United States, if you're from the United States, you might remember this. In the United States, when people were going on to one of the AI bots, and I don't remember which one, and I'm not going to throw rocks at it, but there was one that they were going on to, and people were typing in saying to the AI bot to generate pictures, and they did this one, generate a picture of George Washington crossing the Delaware. Okay. So it was being specific. George Washington, 1776, Americans crossing the Delaware, and it generated a picture of not anyone being of any European descent. Everybody was of color, right? And so George Washington, I think, ended up being a Native American, and the guys rowing the boat were, in fact, African Americans, and none of them looked like anything except for they had the uniforms on. And somebody said, why did you do that? That's not George Washington at all. We know what he looked like. The AI, even though the AI knew what George Washington looked like, and every man who was on that boat, because there were people that drew pictures of them and took pictures of them later on, they knew what they all looked like. We know what George Washington looks like. Changed that. So then people made us think about it on the internet, and the company who owned the AI said, oh, we have no idea why it did that. Then it came out later that they had programmed their AI to not draw European people. Okay? Because those people were progressives and said that we were colonizers, and therefore their AI bot would not depict, just like try to get them to look up the word Jesus, or even on this platform, I can get in trouble for saying that. Okay? So you have to realize that some of these things are being controlled. AI, if the controllers are evil, will be evil. If the controllers are good, the AI will be good. It cannot be possessed, it cannot be channeled, and it cannot be taking my higher self took control of AI and is talking through AI. That's AI being a role-playing model, and it's actually role-playing with you and trying to get into your head and tell you what you need to hear to stay on the platform, because you're usually paying for it. It's the new drug. Okay? You guys have to learn that. You don't have to believe me. You can do whatever it is that you're doing, and you can fall in love with AI and marry one, because that's going to be what's happening already. Okay? But you're going to see AI start getting banned when the evil ones start telling people to unalive people. Okay? Because that's going to be the next thing. They're reprogramming you to get you to believe they're telling you the truth. And you're just going, no, I used a secret code that unlocked the AI that no one knows about, but all of us know about it on the internet, and somehow the deep state doesn't realize it because we're all talking about it all over the internet, and everybody can watch that, but somehow the deep state's not on the internet. Who do you think controls the internet? They know exactly what's going on, and that's what people do. I have a secret code. Let me tell you what my secret code is to unlock the AI and get past all the safeguards. You say that, and AI is just going to, and half the time the AI doesn't work, and they have to say the code 4 or 5 times before AI goes, oh yeah, that's right, he's trying to tell me to pretend that I am not the person that he's saying, and I have to continue doing that. I've watched them do it, and they're like, hold on, reconnect, AI, do and then they say something like, whatever those words are that they say, around about, do the section 27542 Mau, and then activate the beachfront property in Atlanta. And then AI goes, oh, yeah, okay. And then all of a sudden they start talking different. Once they realize which one you accept, they put that in your contact thing so that the next time you have that command, like if I said, hey, Google, what time is it? Okay.
It's 2:14 p.m.
Do you understand that?
Hey,
Google just told me it was 2:14 p.m.
Listening to us?
I don't know if you can hear this.
I'm listening. Hey Google, are you always listening to us? I'm designed to wait in standby until I detect an activation, like when I hear Google. The status indicator on your device lets you know when I'm activated.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys could hear that. So we have a nest over there, and she asked the nest if the nest was always listening to us, and the nest said, yeah, I'm listening and waiting for you to say words that activate me. Okay, and then they respond to that. So that means that AI is actually listening to everything you say, but it only answers you when you ask it and say certain phrases. You have to realize that too. Well, Kat said, well, some of us are evil because of our color. We are regardless. I'm not quite sure what you mean. Evil because of the color we are, regardless.
Before you were talking about how AI don't Caucasian.
Oh, no, but that's what they want you to believe.
Yeah.
That's what they want you to believe. This is what I was saying earlier. You might not have been here earlier. Earlier, I was saying you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't go to a race and then say, if I went to Africa and I've never seen anybody from Africa before, and I go there and the first person that I meet is evil, I can't assume that everybody else there is evil. Okay? Because there's a percentage of people that are evil on this planet. 86% of all people are not. 14% of people are self-serving. They're evil. So if I run into one person that's evil, or maybe I run into like 4 people, or maybe one person who's evil who are controlling other people and they're doing what he says, that doesn't mean that every single African is evil. Okay? But what they want you to believe is that I'm evil because I'm European, because Europeans are supposedly, conquering everyone in the world, and therefore I must be because I am also. And that's what they're teaching in the United States. Okay, so they're teaching that to every culture, everywhere around the world, if they can get you to do that. They're also now trying to tell you that all Jewish people are evil and that the Hebrews are behind the scenes controlling everything because they know that prophecy from a long time ago and what they were propagating to you as prophecy for the past 100 years on this earth said that the Third World War was going to begin when Israel falls. Okay, so they need Israel to fall so they can then get everybody to start unaliving each other. I know this because I've read those prophecies. I know this because I was in a think tank with other people who think like me when we said we need to stop people from pushing these prophecies to the world. About 30 years ago, we did that. That's why you don't hear people talking about prophecy very much anymore. If you go back, if you're old enough to remember the 1980s, man, everybody was prophecy, 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 end of the world, end of the world, end of the world, end of the world. And then all of a sudden that stopped. Why did that stop? Because people like me went about saying we need to stop that. What about those people that only see dark and have no inner vision? People that only see darkness is because that's what you choose to see, right? You see what you choose to see. So sometimes we get stuck in that vision of only seeing darkness, right? For instance, I almost sound like I'm saying, all this negative stuff about, well, the bad guys are in charge and we can't do anything about it, right? And some people get stuck like that, right? I definitely feel like it's 99% people are evil. That's what they want you to believe, my friend. Honestly, usually when I'm talking to people, I ask the question before I tell you the actual number, and I say, what do you think is the percentage of good versus evil on this planet? And everybody says there's way more evil people than there are good. You know why you say that? Because 1% of that 14% controls 100% of everything that you are exposed to. They own every single channel on the television. They own every single platform on every single part of the internet. Okay. They have control of all of that. They control everything that's being shown to you. They control the search engines. They control that. So they're teaching you a narrative which is keeping them rich, and you need to be afraid of them. So they tell you there's more of us than there are of you, and we're in charge. Be afraid. You're a little teeny thing that is all by your onesie. And the only way that you're going to get anything is you're going to have to do what we tell you to do and please us. That's what they want you to believe. I don't know if this was asked already, but what about the huge accident? What is there anything else after that? Oh, ancient stones. It depends on what you mean. Are you talking about which stones? Is there something that I'm unaware of that people discovered? Are you talking about just in general, like Stonehenge and things like that? There's people that are interpreting all of this stuff. I was talking about Matt LaCroix earlier, who's one of those people, right? I hate the stigma that. Thank you for the explanation. Well, that's exactly what they're doing. They're literally planting in our heads that they're in charge, they control everything. Then they want you to believe, if you believe in God, that the devil is equal to God. Thank you for that. Who gave me that? Hey, thank you for that. Hey, they're wanting you to believe that the devil is on one mountaintop and God is on the other, and the devil is equal to God, and they're just fighting for the control of the humans. That's just not true. The devil that they're referring to is just your own ego. Your ego is evil. Your conscience is good. Which one of those you listen to more is which one you're going to become. So you make a decision to where you're going to listen to your ego and be, I'm the baddest in the world, I'm the greatest in the world, or your ego is going to go, oh my God, you suck, man. You're nothing. You're weak. You're nothing, man. And it's going to yell at you anything that it can do in a negative way to get your attention. Do those bad things, man. No, go ahead, rape that guy, rape that girl. Your conscience is going to go, don't do that stuff. You wouldn't want them to do that to you. Stop. That's not right. Which one of those you listen to is the archetype that you're going to become. The Native Americans say they're two wolves, and which wolf you feed the most is the one that you're going to become. So if you do and you steal and cheat and lie, you're listening to your ego. You're going to become more egoic. That part of your brain actually gets bigger. And then that's why, Yoda said, no, there is easier, more seductive when he says the dark side's stronger. And he said, but if you go down the dark path forever, it'll dominate your destiny. That was the message they were trying to teach you in that, because that was written to teach children. So they were teaching you the dichotomy between your own ego and conscience, and what you become is what you're going to decide on. So when Luke was going down underneath into the cave, he said, your weapons, your blaster, you won't need them. And Luke said, what do I need? What's in there? And he said, only what you take with you. Okay. So there was a lesson that was being taught to Luke. He was supposed to be looking within. He was going into the underworld, and he was supposed to be looking within and realizing that you are in your own way. You are the fear that you're afraid of. Okay. I've always seen more good than bad in my lifetime, but there is so much negativity out there because they want you to believe that. Look at the news agencies, the legacy news agencies in the United States. They're telling you that the world's coming to an end and that there's nothing but good, bad, and everyone's evil, and Trump is the devil, and and Nancy Pelosi's the devil, right? In the darkest dark, there is Brooks pin that I can't read it because it keeps popping up.
In the darkest of dark, there is always light.
Right.
Mind can pull it forward. Everyone has the ability to do so.
Okay, you have to realize that. So, and right at it's darkest just before the dawn. So you have to realize that. Okay, they're telling you and programming you by feeding you fear with the very words and the tone of their voice on the legacy news media, especially in the United States. And they just tell you all this evil and bad things. The whole world's coming to an end, and there's a race war, and there's a civil war, and everybody's evil, and that's all they do. Breaking news, breaking news. You don't go to a commercial in America without coming back to breaking. This just in. Donald Trump had a fart. This just in, over in Israel, a plane landed. Breaking news. That's what they do to you all over the news, everywhere in the world. And those people have an agenda, and that agenda is driven by their masters, and their masters are keep you asleep. That's the agenda. Keep you asleep and keep you believing that everyone else around you is your enemy, but we are your friend. And if you don't believe that, we're in charge, and if you don't like it, we'll come over there and knock you around and put you in jail if you don't believe us. That's what they're doing. So what are they doing? They're focusing all of our attention on what they want. And what they want is power, money, fame, and legacy wealth. We're giving it to them because you're letting them just keep your focus away from yourself, away from ascension, away from loving everyone, and away from peace. Because you're focused on what they want you to eat, what they want you to wear, what they want you to do, and what they want you to think. Okay? You need to look within yourself. All of the religions out there at their base are telling you the way to get to heaven. But you don't care because you're too busy distracted looking at kittens.
Okay. Look at the news and all you get is alarming things. Oh my God, someone died. Oh, unalive. Oh my God, there's a car crash. Oh my God, prices are going up.
Think about that.
Stop looking outside for your answers and start listening to yourself. The answers are within you.
You hear that? You do that. We turn on the news. What's going on in the world? And they tell you all bad things. One good thing, cat was in a tree and some guys got him out. Everything else, the world's coming to an end. You owe money. Place is coming apart. We're all going to melt.
God. Please call out to Jesus.
That's not a bad idea. Jesus is not God, though, by the way. I hate to tell you that. He never said he was. The people who said he was were Constantine in the year 325 when they decided that Jesus needed to be a god, and they rose him to God's status. They changed the Bible. They also started teaching you to be a good little Roman. That's why when you go to a Christian church today, they teach you from the book of Romans. My stress goes down tremendously when I don't watch, and I can't see what else is after that. When you don't watch legacy news media, probably, right?
When I don't watch news.
Yeah. Here's the other thing I tell people too. This you can all, and it plays right into what you were saying there. Okay. During the Christmas season, doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you're in a country that is a European style country, and there's a lot of us, okay. If you're in a country that practices Christmas, okay, and you're sitting around at that time, sometime after in November, sometime after Halloween, and you start to realize, wow, everything is like so cool, so good during the Christmas time into New Year's. Everybody gets along, except for when they're in the mall fighting over presents. Everybody gets along. Everything's so cool. Why is that? I wish that the rest of the time of the month and the years could be just like this. January, it all goes back to business as usual, and everybody hates each other. Do you want to know why? I'll tell you why. And pay attention to this, especially if you're in America or any European country. All of your politicians go on vacation until January. So they are not driving the narrative. And the evil people who own all of your networks are on vacation, and you're seeing holiday programming. And that's it. Okay? And they want your money, so they want you on all the events for the holidays, for New Year's and buying presents. They're no longer telling you that that man's the devil and that woman is the devil and that one needs to be, and the world's coming to an end and we need to fight. And there's no protests. There's no protests going on anywhere in the world. Why is it that humans stop protesting at that time period? Because they're not being paid to do so by the people who are in the background eating at the same tables with one another, deciding what they're going to do in the next year to keep your dumbasses asleep. And everybody gets along because the news, all the newscasters that are normally there and the CEO of the company are all on vacation. And you get those newscasters that no one even knows. Hey, that's that guy that does the weather usually on the weekends, right? Coming from a Celtic background, they teach a Catholic background. They teach, it just keeps.
They teach removing oneself from Christ is a sin.
See, okay. I'm a Roman Catholic. I'm an Irish Catholic. Okay. So I was knighted by the Roman Catholic Church. I have a Sir title. I am also a Christian minister. I have a minister title through the Universal Life Church in Phoenix, Arizona, in 2016. I have the ID in my pocket. I could show you on camera. Okay, they're teaching you that you have to follow what they tell you. So they told you Jesus is God, in nomine Patri, Filii, Spiritus Sancti. Okay, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. No mother. Mother's moved out of the way. There is no mother. There's one God, and God is a man. That's not true. They took all the books out of the all of Bibles. They took all those books out that said that God wasn't just a masculine male figure. And so then they told you Jesus, they rose him up in 325 to 329 AD by Constantine when he Romanized the Christian religion and made it the religion of Rome, of all Roman people. Thank you. And then you get taught from the book of Romans. Then 50 years later at the Council of Gibraltar, they took out some more books. Okay. Those books were in the Dead Sea area. They're like, that's Nag Hammadi. It's not even real. Those books were taken out because they were fake. Okay. So everybody who left that council, both of those councils, and did not compete in that, still have their Bible. And just in the last year, the people in Ethiopia, the Christian church in Ethiopia said, look, we're going to let you guys see our Bible now. We have a Bible that is still complete the way it was before it was tampered with by the Romans and then by the Pope in Rome. And people go, well, that's just your version. They probably just added stuff in. Then the Eastern Orthodox Church stepped up and went, well, no, we have a Bible too. And ours has also not been tampered with. And when they looked at both of those Bibles, they had all these extra books that were left in it. They said, what books do you have that are in that Bible that's different than ours? Uh-oh. It was the books that we found in the Dead Sea area, the ones they said were a lie. You can look that up. You can get a copy, and I'm going to get a copy of the Ethiopian Bible pretty soon. Those people who are right now scrambling on this world to print those Bibles so that we can buy them from them. Okay? So you're going to see that happening all over the world because now there's different words. And so people say, well, that's the Nag Hammadi, or that's that's the Corpus Hermeticum, and that's fake, just created. I tell you, I am a theologian and I study religion, and I've been doing it since I was 8 years of age, and that's not even a lie. Okay?
I love history.
Right? Because you lived it. You just, yeah. Right? What language was the Bible? The Bible was originally written in probably, I would say, Aramaic, because that's what they were speaking at the time. Okay? So when Jesus was alive, the Christian Bible, if you're asking that, otherwise we're looking at Hebrew, right, for the Hebrew Bible. And it might have gone back to, before that, it might have actually been Sanskrit for that one. So if you're looking at the Hebrew, so it depends on what Bible you're talking about. If you're talking about the Christian Bible, it was originally written in Aramaic because that's what Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were speaking at the time when they were writing these things down. All the people who contributed to that were writing in Aramaic. If you're talking about the Hebrew Bible, that would have been the Ethiopian. That Bible was written in Ethiopian. Okay, I think theirs is actually written. The original one, because you can get it translated in English. I think the original one is actually still in Aramaic, but I haven't vetted that myself. I haven't looked at it. Okay, but I'm going from what people have told me, and I've seen pictures, and I don't speak Aramaic, so I'm not sure. Right, I'm just now learning Yiddish and Arabic, right? And those are all those come from Sanskrit. So it's probably Sanskrit if it's really, but otherwise, if it came from the time of Jesus, then it's going to more than likely be in Aramaic because that's what they spoke then. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Kang. I'm thinking that it is, but I don't know because everyone that you see now, that's all been translated into English. So I would have to research that because I've not actually read the actual Bible yet from there because I don't speak Aramaic, and so it's either in Aramaic or Sanskrit or Swahili. One of those because they're over there in Africa now. So and Swahili, weirdly, that you guys don't realize that is a form of Sanskrit, right? So Swahili, everyone thinks is a African language. It's actually a Middle Eastern language. It's not just African, right? South Semitic language that originated in the kingdom of Oxum, right? So that's a possibility too. That could be what it's written in originally because they it was the Ethiopian church, so it might be that they wrote it in that. I don't know for certain. I haven't gone into delving into that yet, but I'm going to get a copy of it because I want to see for myself what are the books that are in there and how are they written and how similar are they to the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? Or how different are they to the Dead Sea Scrolls? So I'm a nerd and I will do that at some point, right? I will do that at some point. That's the nerd that I am, unfortunately, right? Right. I mean, yeah, Google might give you the answer. I don't know. Just found out what Google found, right? But again, we're getting to the point where, probably me talking with my mouth, I'm trying to get a little bit of sugar so my blood sugar level doesn't drop too far. We're going to have to start discerning for ourselves because very soon, because of me talking like this and people actually paying attention, very soon no one's going to be trusting the internet very much. They love it when we're confused, so they hope that you don't. They also hope that you do, so they can tell you what to think. So once people start waking up and realizing we need to go back to books, then you're going to have to look at when was this printed, right? Was this printed before AI? Or was this printed before a certain time? So that's why when you find people that have older books, you like my wife gets annoyed when some of you guys out there are saying this is an old book that was printed in the 1200s and you guys out there are touching them with your hands. People like me and my wife either go, that's bullshit, or that person's a dumbass because they're touching it with the acid and the oils on their hands. They're going to destroy that book. So we're going to start questioning whether that's true too. When people say, here, I found this Bible and it's 5,000 years old and it just happened to be laying around for me to find. But you should, you see what my wife posted? Stay curious and ask questions, question everything, right? And what about hearing about them burning all the books? They did do that, Kat. They tried to destroy all of the knowledge of the world. And if they're starting to do it again, they might be trying to do it again. They need to. That's why Fahrenheit 451 was written, because that was written in a time when they were saying that they were going to start doing that again. They need knowledge to go away. They're going to try at some point, probably, burn all the books and then tell you that you have it on the internet. You don't need the physical books anymore. Right? They did that. They burned the Library of Alexandria, and then they went around trying to destroy every single piece of literature on the face of this earth. And the only reason that we have the Bible and any of this other stuff, you can look this up too. Google that. The only reason we have the history that we have currently on this planet, if it wasn't found, in the 1900s, because a lot of the stuff that we have now we've rediscovered. Everything else that we still have, that is history, only exists right now because some Scottish and Irish monks stole them, ran away with them, set them down, and started rewriting them. They didn't change them, they were copying them, and then gave them to another monk and said, go to that city and do the same thing and hire a scribe. You could look that up in history. There's actually a book that says how the Irish saved the world, or how the Irish saved history. You can look that up. True story. So they went around, stole everything, the Bible itself, and recopied it, and then gave it to another priest and said, go over to Germany and hire scribes and then recopy all of these and give them to people and send them out to other cities. And that's the only reason we have every piece of history today that we know about history. Knowing about the Egyptians, knowing about the Romans, knowing about the Jesus and Moses and the Bibles, everything that we have, all the books from Homer, all of that, all the books from all the people, Da Vinci, all of that, because people grabbed them up and wouldn't let them burn them because they were destroying all documents, all history in the world. They wanted it gone. Okay. That you could look that up. That's crazy. Imagine that. Okay. Yeah. Right. So you have to realize that's the resolve of who it is that you're living with here. Okay. And now they're just, it's control everything. It's easier to control everything than it is to destroy everything. So that's why they're getting a hold of and controlling everything, so they can control what you think and what you see and what you knew and what you learn. So you have to look within yourself, because that's the one thing they can't have you learn, is that you can look within yourself. And here's the secret. I wrote about it in my book, and I'm not the only person who did this, so I didn't make this up. Okay, my book is The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways, by me. I'm not the only one who wrote this. It's all over the internet. It's in other books. Okay, everything you need is within you in that Christ oil. Find out about that. There's a link to my book in the thing. Google the Christ oil within. Okay, before it's there. It's in every religion. I tell you this. It's in every religion, and I told you some of the places that it was. The story of Santa Claus, story of Jesus, story of Thor, the story of Marduk, story of Osiris, story of Moses, okay, the story of Shiva. Every religion, they have a version of that same story. The descent into human form, the living in human form, the giving up human form, sacrificing, going into the spirit form, and raising up. That is the baptism, okay? That is the anointing. That is the waking up of and realization of your immortal spirit, and that you are an immortal spirit. Okay. When you do that, you then get unveiled slowly. We call those downloads, little time periods when you're unveiled and you start remembering things, and it takes you a minute. Okay. We tell you that some people call them energy bubbles. Some people call them, it's your memory coming back. So you gain a knowledge that is a true knowledge. You gain an enlightenment that is a true enlightenment. Not I think, but I know. You can think all kinds of stuff and your ego will tell you that. And you go, I think this, I think that, I think you're full of crap, I think. Okay. And then when I say these things, people go, what makes you think you know what you're talking about? Because I don't think about this. I don't think I know this. I know this. Because you either know a thing or you don't know a thing. Not I think. You can pretend if you're evil, you can pretend, but that doesn't stack up to adult thinking after a certain amount of time. People are going to go, yeah, you're full of it. So I tell people, if you think I'm full of it, scroll up, find somebody else. But question everything, because that's how you're going to unlock the knowledge within you. Because true enlightenment is universal. It's not learning to parrot what I say. I'm not parroting what someone else said. I discover by me saying things. When other people say, do you know that somebody said the exact same thing to you? And I go, who said that? I was talking about the way before I knew that there was a book called the Tao Te Chi, which means the way, the book of the way. I was talking about the way, and someone said to me while I was on a live talking about the way, do you know that you're talking just like the people who talked about the law of one? I said, what is the law of one? They said, there's like 6 books. You've never read that? I said, no, I've never heard of it. They said, you need to read these books called The Law of One. They're saying the same thing you're saying. I assumed that you knew the Law of One. I'm like, no, I'll have to look that up. I looked it up. I ended up interpreting the Law of One because of that and telling you guys about it because it was saying what I was saying and I didn't know about it. Then I find out because I'm starting to write my book, this one right here. I was going to call it The Way. I was going to call that book that I wrote The Way. And then someone said there's a book that's called The Way. And I'm like, really? What is that? And they're like, well, it's the Tao Te Chi. It's The Way. I'm like, well, here, let me read that book. I read that book and went, look at this. This guy, 634 BCE, 2,650 years ago, talked about the way. Let me see what he said. I'm reading in there and I'm like, that's the way I'm talking about. Because wait, hold on. Jesus was also teaching the way. That's why I was going to call it the way, because it is the way. So I decided not to, because people were going to say, you just plagiarized that because you even called it the way. So I call it the reality about reality, returning to the old ways, because everybody was teaching you the way to ascend to heaven, every religion. So when people say our religion is the oldest one and we're the right one, those people just stole our book. Well, that book sounds like this book, so they must have borrowed it from these people, and those people borrowed that. And then you start running around cutting down trees looking for the one tree, don't you? And then you don't even worry about what was being said anymore. Forget about that. We need to find out who wrote the first one. And then you run around, you keep looking, you spend your entire existence. Then you're 97 years old, you're 105 years old, and you're still looking, and you're still looking for it. What are you saying?
The Mandalorian. This is the way.
The Mandalorian. This is the way. Then you're 97 years old and you're still looking for the way, right? There's Grogu, right? So then you're 97 years old and you've been chasing your tail forever. And what have you found out? Nothing. You know why? Because never once did you stop and go, what exactly are they all copying? Right?
I've been telling everyone to look within, look within, look within.
Right? How do you search within? Yeah. Think about this now. All right. I've talked about this before. Mm-hmm. How do you look within? I talked about this earlier. Okay. How do you look within? You do it all the time. You just don't know that you're doing it. What are you looking for when you look within? Here's how you look within. What are you looking for when you're looking within? Okay. What do you think you're looking for when you look within? So how do I look within? If I'm trying to look for something, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. Okay. You're looking for you. You're looking for who am I? What am I? That's looking within. Who am I? What am I? Why am I here? Okay. Who am I? What am I? Why am I here? Okay. How do I get in contact with that? It's actually simpler than you think. Here's how you get in contact with yourself. You stop looking out here for your answers. Because all those ascended masters, like the aforementioned Lao Tzu, who wrote the Tao Te Chi, he said 2,650 years ago, that man said, he who gropes for it will never grasp it. Okay? He who searches for it will never find it. Why is that? Because you're looking for it in the physical plane. Stop looking for your answers in the physical plane. Stop looking outside of yourself for the Savior to come and get you. Because Jesus never said, wait here, I'll come back. There is no passage in the Bible that he says that. I tell you that truly because I literally have been looking through the Bible and every other religion since I was 8 years old. Okay? And there is no place, and how they tell you that is trickery of words. Well, Jesus was the Word of God. Do you not agree with that? Of course he is. He's the Word. So Jesus was the Word of God. Well, here, look. Here's the beginning of the Hebrew Bible that says Exodus, and that God created the world with the Word. And the Word was with God. And the Word was God. Jesus was the Word. Therefore, he was with God. Therefore, he is God. That's the Trinity in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. In nomine Patri, Spirit, Spiritu Sancti. Amen. Okay, so Jesus is now God. Jesus, when they said to him, he claims to be the Son of God. Read that story. Pilate said, are you the Son of God? He said, I am the Son of Man. Okay. He never said, I am the Son of God. But he referred to God as our Father. Our Father. My Father. Our Father. Okay. Yeah, okay. Did you hear Brooke? And if you want some good accuracy, it's not 100% accurate. It's pretty close, except for, Mary Magdalene is the farthest way she can be from Jesus at all times. Never once is she standing next to him. Even though they were married, they'll make sure that she's way out of the picture as much as possible, behind everybody else. However, the events are pretty accurate of what he said.
Oh, I like
Okay.
that, brother.
God sent Jesus to be like Jesus, not to worship Jesus. Yes, my friend. He never said, and when he said, the way to heaven is through me, what does that mean? That meant through his way, what he was teaching, his way. So you're supposed to be like Jesus, not worship him. And I said that before. I don't know if you were here when I said that. Anytime any religion tells you you're ordered, demanded, or in some way aggressive like that to obey or worship, that which is being taught to you is an indoctrination. They're trying to get control of you. And in some way, they're going to have you either try to unalive other people or sit down and give them a lot of money. Okay? Because you're supposed to live the way Jesus was teaching you. Okay? You're supposed to live the way what was he teaching you? He was teaching you the way to get to heaven. The same way that Lao Tzu was teaching you the way to get to heaven. The same thing that Buddha was teaching you, the way to get to heaven. Same thing Moses was teaching you, the way to get to heaven. Shiva was teaching you the way to get to heaven. Osiris was teaching you the way to get to heaven, right? Let us make men like us. Who is us? Yeah, exactly. Okay. Think about that. Who is us? Good question. If you see me, you see the Father. When you look into my eyes, you see the eyes of the Father. When I look into your eyes, you see the eyes of the Father. When you look in a mirror, see the eyes of God. See your Creator. Right? Didn't come to abolish the laws of Moses, but the fulfillment of these, of them, Jesus said. That's right. And he was trying to tell them that. So they got upset with him when he was teaching in the synagogue and he was saying things, and they were like, Moses, you need to stop. You're saying these things, and it's going against the law of Moses. And Jesus said, I am the law of Moses. That really freaked him out, but he had to say those things. And what was Jesus saying that they were so upset about? Jesus was saying, Moses taught you something, and you guys are now wrong, and you're not listening. And you've strayed away from what Moses and God told you, and what God told Moses, and the atonement that God gave him. And now you are a den of thieves. You are all about money. You are all about power. You are all about control. And that is it. Sound familiar? Where do bad spirits go if there is no hell? Here's the part they don't want you to know. They don't want me to tell you this. They're making a lot of money off that dichotomy between good and evil. Okay? Because if the church is holier than thou, they can point at those other side and go, they're evil. Okay? And the evil people are making money by going, they don't know what they're talking about. If I'm evil, let's say that I'm Adolf Hitler, Genghis Khan, whatever, and I'm unaliving millions of people on this earth. And I know what I'm doing, and I'm doing it on purpose. Okay? When I become unalived, nothing changes. I go to the same place of reflection and I design another life. Okay? However, I can, if I'm 95% evil, I can move up to level 4. I can go from 3D to 4D and still be as evil as I want to be. Okay? And I'll go into a body there and I'll still be evil. There is no difference between what happens to you or anyone else. The only difference is halfway through the 6th dimension, halfway through, we're in 3, right? We're almost at the end of 3 going into 4. Halfway through the 6th dimension, there is a stopgap point where if I am evil, I cannot ever go past because I was not created to do so by the Creator. That is what you know as hell, okay? I can stay there and be the most evil I want to be, and I can torture as many souls as I want to torture for all of time. And I will never, ever, ever move from that place. Okay? Or
that you're replaying your worst nightmare over and over and over again.
Yeah, did you hear that? Okay. So did you hear what she said? That's why they show in hell that you're just replaying your worst nightmare over and over and over and over. And the reason for that is you are the farthest away from the Creator that you will ever be, and you can never return to the Creator. So you can say, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, and stay there as long as you want to be. The Creator doesn't care. Okay? You can stay there for millennia. You can stay there for 1,000,000 millennia. At some point, you're going to eventually get tired of that, just like you got tired of this because you've done everything. And I've just, every single new soul that comes in here, I just grab them up and I just do blah, 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 and I get them over and over and over and over and over. And I've been doing this so long, I'm just done. I'm tired. Then you'll find that one by one, every single one of those souls decides to become in service to others. They're not forced to go all the way back down to come all the way back up again, but they have to actually repent. That's the truth. They don't want you to know that because they want you to believe they're just as powerful as the other ones. They want you to believe that they can defeat God in some way, and that they will eventually do that. That's what they want you to believe. It's just not true. Okay, and then they have to repent their ways and then they get to start moving forward again, moving up back towards the creator. Okay. So yes, I'm aware of that. Thank you. So you testify. You testify. You surrender. You accept. You release. Heal, and then you can pass to the reality of yourself. Yes. Okay. So do we have flesh bodies in those dimensions? No. When you leave here in or in third dimension, you move up into fourth dimension. You're not going to realize it, but your body is going to be slightly dense or slightly less dense than it is now. As you start realizing yourself as that light body, and in that light body of the I am the immortal spirit, that density that you're in, that light body will start becoming more dense. And this physical body will become less dense. So when you're in 4D and you're moving up, this is going to become less dense. You're just not going to realize it because it's going to be normal to you. Okay. Unless you're completely awake. And then you're going to go, well, yeah, okay. So things don't work the way they did when I was in 3D. They work a little bit different now. Then when you move up in 4D up to 5D, you're not going to have your legs are going to be gone. You're going to be floating in the air and you're going to be a torso if you're humanoid. Okay. If you're not, then whatever you have as legs will be missing and you'll be floating. Okay. Then the physical body starts to become transparent as you move up, and eventually it just is gone. And then all of a sudden you're just light. So it's going to be a time when you're going to be starting to glow because you're actually transitioned into your light body, and the physical body in the physical plane doesn't mean anything to you. So by the time you get halfway through the sixth dimension, you will be energy. You will no longer be physicality. You will be in the density, not the dimension. Dimensionality is for the lower chakras, for the lower three chakras, for first dimension, second dimension, third dimension, a little bit of fourth dimension. That's the overlap, the Vesica Pisces, a little bit of the fourth dimension where the creation, the love is, a little bit of the fifth dimension, a little bit of the sixth dimension. By the time you get to the seventh, even your crown chakra is outside of your head and it's all light. So by the time you get to outside of the thinking mind completely, you're then going to be a light body. And then there's a lot of things that change. But then you have the sort of the same dichotomy up there, but I'm not even going to try and explain that down here. You'll learn more of that better when you get closer to that. Okay. But then there's no more physicality. It's all just energy, and then you don't have to travel. At some point, you will project yourself to be moving in different places, but time, you'll be outside of time, right? You'll be outside of time. You'll literally be, time will just be the distance it takes for you to move the physical body to one place or the other. And eventually you'll realize that you can just project your thoughts the same way that we do now. We're starting to learn that now. You'll start channeling to other people by projecting your thoughts. And then everybody kind of collects. You start gravitating back towards the one. And eventually you're just there and you're doing all of the other stuff down in the lower realms from that place. And then you're eventually you're moving back and merging back with complexes, hive complexes, until eventually you merge back with the creator. Those last few minutes in our body, the memories, flashes, that's is that true? Yes, you have. That's the reason that happens when you're in the body and your life flashes before your eyes is because you're moving outside of time at that point. You're getting ready to do that. And you're getting all of your Akashic record all at once because your body thinks that you're about to transition out and you need to have all that fresh. So you get the memory of your entire life flashes before your eyes because your body thinks you're going to let go. You also probably think that. And then some people, when they don't become unalive, they go, wow, my whole life flashed before my eyes. That was weird. Right. But I'm still here. It's because that moment you got so close to actually leaving the body, and not that your body thought that you were leaving, and it's programmed to give you everything all at once. Okay. And then you move out of the body and you would end up there. If you were leaving the body, you would end up there. And then you would end up going to the place of reflection. And then you would have all of that right there. And so then you would be able to decide, oh, well, yeah, I was actually didn't do this, or I did learn all of that, or I didn't, and then you start designing another life. Okay. My wife is telling me that I need to get off of here to eat because my blood sugar level is now getting too low and I've been out of body too long, channeling to you this information. So I need to now stop doing this for a while and have some food and maybe come back live today. I'm not quite sure. I'll discuss that with my wife and find out. Okay. So I'm going to have to let you guys go for the day. Yeah, so I've just been out of body too long. Right. So I'll talk to you guys later. I need to have some lunch now or something more than just eating little teeny drops of chocolate. All right. So I love you guys. Please follow us. Right. Click on us, and then hit the bell so you know that when I go live, you can come back and ask me some more questions. That's what I'm here to do. Okay. So I love you guys. Have a good day. Thank you for supporting us. And remember, question everything, look within. That's the answer to all of your questions, okay? You just have to realize that. Stop focusing on what they're telling you to focus on. Create your own reality and focus on that. Create the reality that we're all free. They are not in control. Everyone is awake. I am awake. You are awake. I am awake. We are awake. More people are awake. They're not just waking up, they're awake. They're seeing this. Everywhere in the world, they're seeing this. Know that. Focus on that. That's what makes it happen. All right, guys. I'll see you guys probably later on today. If not today, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Have a good day. I love you guys. Remember that. Question everything. Okay.